My goat. Huge congrats to you and the team. Hashtag DIGWIN Inderclass.
Yo. Hello? Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Ba ba bum. When getting some Dignitas drip, it should be on the way. Hopefully. I'm sure they'll hook it up. Especially after we won, you know. What's up, everyone? I need to put this on the screen. Put it here. Pine now with the gifted, thank you. Pikasaur came in with the resub, Castanet with the tier 3, and Virus with the tier 3 as well. Thank you everyone for the congratulations as well, appreciate it. Nice hat, thank you. It's a clean hat that we got, the competitors got. Actually, let me show it off. Actually, this is one of my favorite competitor hats, because look at this in the back. It's got the Mega Stone thing. So when I Mega Evolute my Pokemon, it probably goes like this, right? Charmander, Mega Evolution. Dun. Dun. Something like that. Yo! Virus with, I can't even count. It's just scrolling for 50. Oh my God. It's a celebration. Oh my God. OMG. What the? Whoa. Thank you, Virus. I gotta do more winning. That's crazy. Thank you, Virus. We gotta win some more, man. I gotta win some more to be deserving. As you guys can see, put the trophy up. Also, I'm working on this little support thing. I gotta get like little things to hold them up properly. But it's every support minus mime, I think we got up here. Right? An Eld. I don't have an Eld plushie. It's cool. And the giant comfy. Yeah, the giant comfy because the little comfy's on my mic. Congrats on the dub. Thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, it's a full team effort, like genuinely. Like, I think my team played amazing, which I'm really proud of them all. You know, we all had some bad games, and then we also all had some good games. You know who did the player doodles on the website? That's a good question. That's a good question. I will ask and I will try to get that answered. And I'll maybe post like a link to their socials somewhere. I don't know who did it though. Do you remember your Mewtwo X game today? I did not play any games today. So if you got into a game with me, it was not me. What game was my favorite throughout the weekend? I think game... we're gonna do a full VOD review tomorrow. Because I want to do the tier list today. And then we'll follow up the tier list with the VOD review tomorrow. But my favorite game of the tourney, maybe it might be game 3 against Force Team. Is it game 3? There's something that didn't get caught on camera. I think it was either game 2 or game 3. Where me and Zugrug went and broke the bottom pad. Zugrug was on Crustle, their tank was on Snorlax. I think it was Soto on Snorlax. And Zug had 40 and we really needed to break the tier 1 pad. And Zug just started his score. You know, like sometimes you just have to start your score and hope something happens. And I see the Snorlax walking down the lane. He's walking down the lane. And I time my Phantom Force, anticipating his Heavy Slam, boop him in the air. His Heavy Slam just barely doesn't hit the Crustle. You can't really see it on the tourney stream. And then we stop his cap and the 40 goes in. And breaking that pad was huge at that point. That's something that I've worked on a lot. I did it once at Worlds in the LG block as well, where you Phantom Force the Heavy Slam. It's really hard to do, but when you do it, it makes a big difference. And then obviously game 1 of the finals was, you know, a little bit of luck, a little bit of teamwork, a little bit of enemy throwing, and a whole lot of hype. Also, two Pina Coladas. Welcome back with the 6 months in advance. Oh my god. Big dig energy. Hell yeah. Is Chun the one playing attackers? Our team like rotates off a lot. Otter's the main attacker, but you know, all of us pass the Latios around. We all get a chance at it. Yeah, well, the World's VOD review was good, right? We'll do an LAIC VOD review tomorrow. Chun was scared to be on stage with the interview? No. The team interviews all happened after like really long sets, you know? Especially the first one after our semis, like you realize on that day we played against Peru. We had to wake up early, get to the venue by 8 a.m. immediately play Peru, then play Infamous, then play a best of 5, which went to 5 games. So we were just all so tired. We were all so tired at that point. I don't know why the other teams didn't pick Lottie. We'll get into it when we do the tier list. But I have some packs to open as well. So I have 4 booster bundles of the new set. See, can I balance them all? Oh, okay. I have 4 of them, okay? And then I have 1 ETB as well. 1 Pokemon Center Edition ETB. How was the absolute cinema of getting paired into Peru after the bracket change? Bro, the bracket stuff was just... Don't even get me started on the bracket stuff. Don't even get me started. Why did that guy from CA say he wanted to be the first LATAM team that wins an international championship? He didn't mean... he meant from his Latin America region. From Latin America North. Not from Latin America total. Because before LATAM used to be split into 3, right? It used to be LAN, LAS, and Brazil. And it's a very new thing this season where they're all in the same region now. Because Latin America is huge. W Japan secured, that was the main thing. And honestly, that was where we were the most excited. The AR and SAR from the January set, just like I just saw it too, bro. I literally just saw it before I went live. Why isn't LATAM combined with NA? I mean, you have to draw the line somewhere, right, on the regions. And I think there's probably like tax reasons and pricing reasons why they're all separated, if I had to guess. It's probably more complicated than I understand. Mexico should be an NA. I think ping-wise, I agree. It should be an NA. Server-wise, I definitely agree. But I think it might be more complicated. I think it might be like a... I think it also might be like a language thing and judges that support different regions. Like, it might be out of my understanding, but... Yeah, okay. First booster bundle. First 6 packs. Congrats on the win. Thank you, homie. Thank you, everyone. Golden Zard. So I went over to Mazo's house. I was literally at Mazo's house yesterday. Yesterday. I was at Mazo's house yesterday. And we opened up his Portuguese Phantasmal Flames. And I pulled the Gold Zard for him. Hey, hold on. Chat is way too big on this screen. There we go. Low Tad. We have a lot of packs and we've already opened this set, so I'm gonna try to be a little faster. Should I call you Ender or Champion? you know, Mr. Ender champion galore. Probably good enough. So we could. Alcremie. I think we pulled that one already, but it is an Alcremie reverse. Yo, Hazard with the tier 3 as well. Welcome back, bro.
I am a champ sub.
You're a sub of the champ. We're all champs in the chat though. At least now I can say, you know how like I would have to turn the stream off for scrims. At least I can say it was worth it, right? Vibrava, Seal, Oddish, Smeargle, Fire Breather, Saraledge, Wiggly. Another Vibrava. Reverse Wiggly. Okay. Two support Pokemons. Do I have a whole box? I have a whole box worth of packs, basically, yes. A little in-depth explanation of how we prepared for LIC. Tomorrow, I'm going to do like a full VOD review of all the games. So we'll talk about it more, but it was mostly just, you know, scrims. Playing, ooh, a Yamper. Cute Yamper. Has like a Pokeball plush on it. On the bed. All the dig games. All the dig games I'll go through. But, I don't know. It's like preparing for any tourney. You have to try to figure out... what's OP in the meta. And then, of what's OP in the meta, what are you good at playing at? And of what's good in the meta that you are good against playing at. So that way, like, you can figure out what you need to ban, what you need to pick. And then for each team, you have to come up with a personalized plan, you know? In the group stage, we didn't have, like, a huge plan. It was mostly just, you know, try to win. And then once we got into the brackets, it was individualized plan for each team. We'll talk about the Mons when we do the tier list. What's up, Tans? Tans is coming to Japan with us. Tans is going to be our sub moving forward, which is cool to have him help out on the team and stuff. He's our official sixth man. Wish Utano was around? Yeah, that'd be nice. But don't talk about him like he's dead, bro. He's still a homie. I want the Ludicolo IR. How much? Any advice on how you handle 5 boyfriends? Zealot's more like low bro, you know? I wouldn't put Zealot in the boyfriend category. He's too young to be my boyfriend. He's more low bro. Lutano definitely was watching as well. Guys, I see some sparkling. Duraludon, that Duraludon art's cool. Darmanitan. Haunter. Ooh, reverse Veneri. Palace got her reverse Veneri already. Okay. It's a Zardiax. Cool. Who's my widow not cup? Nope. Nate, welcome back with the tier 3.
IGWIN Laic champion.
Laic champion.
Ranking Ender Yoink.
Thank you. Sug's not going to be happy sharing. Nope. The time and a place, you know? Team Rocket Diglett. Oh, I didn't see that one. I saw the Pikachu, the D-Knight, and the Zoroark. Now that you guys won, you don't need to practice no more scrims. Bro, we gotta win EUIC and we have to win Japan. At least one of the two, right? All right, 6 more packs. And then Worlds, true. I mean, the main one to win is Worlds. What's up, Buzzer Bob? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Shirt U is Mickey. Still an international event, bro. Lots of teams will be there. Oddish. Honchkrow. Cresselia. Shiram. UIC is not competitive? No, bro. There's going to be a lot of good teams at UIC. Hat is fire. Thank you. It's a nice hat. Japan always feels so much faster in any other region, but then slow down internationals. I mean, they just have their own metas, right? Yeah, I mean, this win was big for sure, but it's also important not to giga confidence.
Streamer
Amber with the tier 3.
All
the tier 3s coming back today. Thank you so much. Oh, we got the, okay, so we hit the Zardiax into full art Zard. That means we're gonna hit all 4 Zards today. I can feel it. I mean, this is a full art I'd be down to get graded as well. Front centering looks a little monka. Oh, the back centering looks even worse though. Like very top heavy and very, you can just tell the sides aren't that good either. This would not, I'm not. Back centering doesn't really matter. Yeah, I know, but still. Even the front's not like that. I mean, maybe. Yeah, it's dog. I'll take it. Maybe, I don't know. Let's see. It's still, yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I want to collect all the mega full arts eventually, so it's still a nice hit. I'm not complaining. Did I not get sick after LAC? No. First time someone else got sick and I didn't. I mean, actually, last couple of events I haven't been getting sick. My immune system is touch wood. My immune system is getting a lot better. I know Zug is sick. I was talking to him earlier. Poor guy. Jigglypoof. This time it's not my fault, okay? Last Worlds 2023, it was my fault. I'll take the blame. This time, not my fault. Why is LASC 26 when the year is 2025? Because it's a part of the 2026 circuit, you know? It's a little confusing, I get it, but... Gotta zoom through these packs a little. Yeah, we'll rewatch the games tomorrow. Today I want to do a tier list. Because I feel like if I do the tier list first, it'll give more context to the games. You know? This pack was upside down. Like the cards were upside down. Maybe it's lucky. Oh wait, yo, did you see that? It's literally every Pokemon was a Unitemon. Charmander, Sableye, Duraludon, Mamo. Ah, Crocodile. Boyfriend tier list win? No, it's too redacted. It's too redacted. Boom. Oh, I told you. I could tell because it was backwards. I knew something good was in here. Yeah, full art emp. Cool. Tier 3 list when? Everyone's S tier except Jurge. Bazinga. Let's go, I'm special. Everyone wins. Am I gonna solo queue? Yeah, but we're gonna hang out for a bit. And this card looks quite nice. I like it. You have 3 of the emp, you hate him? Oh. What's up, change? Vaporeon with the tier 3. Welcome back. Thank you so much.
Dig win, dig win, dig win.
Ooh. Double hit maybe? No, but Dugong. This set is very fun to open. So far I haven't hit any dupes either. There's a lot of whitening on the corners for this card though. It's not a card I would get graded, but it's a nice binder card. It's a very beautiful card, yeah. Okay, that's booster bundle number 2 down. The card, my chase, obviously is the Gold Zard and the Zard SIR, but I would really like to pull the Piplup to give to Palace. Because I wanted the Meowth really bad, and she pulled the Meowth, and she's gonna give it to me when I see her in a couple days. So I need to pull the Piplup for her. Oh, this pack. These packs look cooked. What is that? There better not be a freaking Charizard in these ones. They look so cooked. Not even the one that I dropped. Gloom. Manifested, it's guaranteed. It's coming. Give me Piplapu. Yeah, what up, Anisus? Nice win. Thank you. Boom. Nothing. Pretty much no one in the tourney wanted to play Latios. I don't get it. What is YouTube chat? What's going on? Is something bad happening with YouTube chat? Oh, let me just ban that guy. Linoon, Blowtorch. We're pulling way too many Flygons. Boom. Oh. Oh. Normal EX Rotom. It's a cool looking card. I'm not upset at it. You believe in Toonslim? I believe in Toonslim. Yeah, guys, we had a big win, but we picked up some ops along the way. It'll be fun to tell that story of the ops one day. Oh, I skipped to the Meowth by accident, but we hit the Meowth. Oh my, I mean, this was my chase. It's my second one technically because Palace already gave me one. Yeah, one day when you're older. I mean, mine won't get a 10 either, but now I don't need to yoink Palaces. No, mine, the centering is cooked on this and there's some whitening on the back. But I think this is one of the best cards in the set. So if you don't know this card, the background has a Pokemart, and I forget what route it is, but the Meowth is in the route where you would find it in Kanto, in front of, I think it might be Cerulean City. Give Palace your Meowth. Sure, we could trade Meowths. Below Cerulean, yeah. So cool. And it's like, you know, geographically correct for the game. Which is just so cool, I think. True, how come the Latinos didn't know that Latinas was OP this tourney? Maybe they were afraid of it. Maybe they were afraid of it. Duraludon. Ooh, normal Piplup. I don't know. I'm feeling we're gonna hit the Zard soon. Oh, that's the holo. Oh no. I was like, where's the holo? Mega Lopunny EX. Cool. Did I get a chance at the new set? Well, this is the latest set that's out. And then the new set pre-order I didn't get because I was just flying, sadly. Yeah, we gotta get the Piplup for Palace as well. We'll get it, we'll get it. TM 828 win, is that what the TM for Dig is? That's funny. Cute Palmy card. Very cute Palmy card. Full art Oricorio. This will be one of those full arts that'll be worth like $1, right? I think it looks cool. Like, this is a nice card to just sit in my binder. Like, I'm not mad about it. I'd only be mad about it if I had more than one. Yanji, what's up? Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, that's 3 booster bundles down. We've hit a couple IRs, a couple full arts. Last booster bundle. Winner. Zug finally get his trophy. He finally got his trophy. What Zug actually meant was he wants his first place trophy that he was denied in 2024. Because he did get a 3rd and a 4th in the following season. But those don't count, right? Tearless be a tuber? Yeah, yeah. Tearless will be a tuber. Winner, winner, chicken ender. True. Hello, swine. Genesect. How was he denied? It was a whole thing. The short version of the story is that allegedly the tournament organizers mixed up the main event and the, you know, quote unquote, like side event. And because the schedules got changed, they accidentally also changed the prizing handouts, and the trophies went to the wrong tournament. What the? Wait, what? Oh, that was a reverse. I was gonna say something was weird there. Calling Ender his IRL support. Yeah, I wasn't expecting you to say that, but you know, he's my carry. They gave Zug's trophy to Slash. That's one way to put it. Thought they considered the final stretch to be the main event. I don't think that's true, and if that is true, then they're redacted for thinking that. Because the final stretch featured teams that lost the regional event. So the main event would be featuring teams that lost. More Alchremies. Half the teams in the final stretch were the ones that placed low in the regional event. Shouldn't have to be an NA to play on your team? Yeah, for the online tournaments, he'll have to be living in NA. Which he will be living with me. And these packs have not been hot in this booster bundle. 2 packs left. It was a weird choice, yeah. In any case, something weird happened, right? Is there a Spoons near your house? Like a store? I don't know if we have that in Canada, bro. Never heard of it. Amswine. Nothing. Cheap UK pub. Well, I don't live in the UK. Big win, big win. What up, Iro? Thank you. All right, last pack of the booster bundles before we get to the ETB. Okay, reverse 1, reverse slot 2, and then hollow slot. Okay, a mega Pokemon. This was a very bad booster bundle. This booster bundle, this was out of 6 packs, I got just this. Okay. Next, we're going to be doing a taboo in Pokemon card collecting. And it's opening a Pokemon Center Edition ETB. Pokemon Center Edition ETB. Don't do it. I'm going to do it for 2 reasons. One, as you can see, there's like a significant amount of corner damage. I already have some other ones that I'm keeping for myself anyways, or to trade. Some corner damage on this corner as well. And I also want the Shark Cadet promo. I want the Pokemon Center Stamp Shark Cadet promo. I like Shark Cadet. Hopefully my Shark Cadet's good. I can just get a 10. And you know what? It's fine. You gotta open some stuff sometimes, right? You can't just be full cringe all the time. So for those of you that don't know, in an ETB, what you get is a bunch of stuff. So you get this coin, full Charizard coin. You get a set of sleeves, cool looking sleeves. You get 2 promos, one with the Pokemon Center stamp, one without. Initial glance, front centering looks okay, but it looks like there's some whitening on it, so it might not be gradable. But still a very cool looking card. We'll keep this sealed for now. You see there's the Pokemon Center stamp. You get that and the unstamped version. You get a pack of energy cards, which I always just immediately throw away. And you get some dice and damage counters, which I have so many of those, I'm just gonna throw that away. And normally in an ETB, you get 9 packs. In the Pokemon Center Edition ones, you get 11. So we've opened up 24 packs. With this 11, that'll be 35, which is almost exactly 1 booster box worth of packs. We haven't hit an SIR yet. The quality on these packs are so bad, guys. Oh well. Reverse Moltres, Reverse Mischievous, Holopalmot. So I have your Nats 2015 and 2016 sleeve sealed. That's cool. Back when they used to call them nationals, right? Instead of internationals or whatever. Just skip straight to the reverse slot. Reverse 1, reverse 2. Ooh. Oricorio EX. Still not a dupe. Still not very exciting though. But it's fine. Cool little star texture. Ender's reason changing from Nouns to Dignitas. Nouns was a European team, and I wanted to make a North American team. That's like the big reason. Is that a Rocky? It is a Rocky, yes. Didn't see Nouns and you're confused? Surely you weren't that confused.
Who's my widow not cup? Nope.
Hot luck with the tier 3.
What does Ender have in common with the Knicks Josh Hart?
What does Ender have in common with the Knicks Josh Hart? I don't know, tell me. Also, thanks for the tier 3, bro. Welcome back. Getting all the tier 3s back. What happens when I don't stream for a week? No worries, Angel. Both of you are champs and sponsored by Mike and Ike's. That's crazy. And the hollow slot is Mega Gengar. Okay. So not a dupe at least. Cool looking Mega. Genjar. Nice. You know, Dignitas is owned by the same parent company that owns the 76ers. So technically, Joel Embiid is my teammate. If you think about it. If you think about it really hard. Did you pull any bangers yet? Some illustration rares, some full arts, but nothing like Giga Banger. We pulled the Meowth at least, I guess. Come on, guys. Snacking on Mike and Ike's at Worlds? True. Own D's. Oh, thank you. What's up, Felipe? A wondrous patch. I hope you get one of those soon. What do I do with the non-important cards? I store them in bulk containers. Ooh, a reverse Milcery. I didn't have this Milcery yet in a reverse. And then I trade them in for to my local store for credit. I sort them out and stuff. And I use the credit to just get more cards. Some uni teams have Scoopy standout games. Dumb old-timey Italian word I don't know. I'm sure it's got like this a similar root meaning to like, you know, to dignify. It's the dignitas. That's my guess, at least. Don't quote me on that. Guys, these packs are not hitting. These packs are not hitting. Try putting them upside down. Well, the hits are predetermined. Oh, this is my first dupe. I own this card already. This Toxicity. I pulled this from my Charizard UPC packs. Still a cool looking card. Force Gaming's defender was good at locks. Oh, Soto? Yeah, he was good. He was really good. Believe in the packs. Oh, Grammy. Why does this card feel like? This card feels like it's super thick. Guys, I'm pretty sure I got an error pack. This card feels really thick. And I also didn't get 2 reverses. I don't know. This card, they should be stuck together. It looks like there are, but nothing's coming apart. It won't give. I don't know, I'll put this to the side for now. It's the SIR. Yeah, the SIR is glued to it. It's Piplup. No, I mean, I guess it could be an SIR because I did get a holo. I just didn't get a second reverse. Okay, whatever. I have 2 packs left. Let's get our hit. Thanks, Niwatori. So reverse 1. Reverse 2. Hollow. All right, last pack magic. I did have some Brazilian cheese bread. It was pretty good. Reverse. Damn, we got destroyed on these packs, guys. We got absolutely destroyed. This is what I got. Yamper, Toxicity, Megazard, Mega Gengar, Normal Oricorio, Mega Heracross, Mega Lopunny, Rotom, Full Art Oricorio, Meowth, Dugong, Emp, and then Full Art Zard. I mean, actually, it's not that bad. I hit a Full Art Mega, and I hit the best IR. I just really need to get a Piplup for Palace at some point. The Full Art Zard's pretty cool, yeah. Shows the cards during an ad, weird champ. Oh, sorry. You got draft, good job. Good getting draft. Piplup Palace's favorite mon? It's one of her favorites. One of her favorites. Her favorite's Buneri, for sure. But Piplup's probably like top 5. Let me put my bulk. The other reason why I like opening an ETB per set is you get somewhere to put your bulk for that set. Surprised they didn't add Mega Lopunny EX? They did. I pulled it. Pokemon card art's greater than license art? I mean, true. License art is cool though. You weren't looking, FF. When's the next major tournament? So, let's see. Let me find it for you. I have it somewhat handy. No, da, 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 na, na, na. So this graphic is missing ACL, but basically, we just did LAIC. So the open qualifiers for the league are December 13th, December 14th. So this will be 3 teams from each region, NA, EU, and LATAM. Will join the 5 teams from the respective regions to form the 8-team leagues. So this was a pretty big tournament. It's gonna have like some lesser known teams, like, you know, obviously the teams that are already in the league aren't gonna be in here, but some regions, the open qualifiers are gonna have really good teams in there. So that's pretty big. And then bi-weekly will be the league matches, and then the big tourney is EUIC that's coming up, which is February 13th, 15th, which is actually kind of soon, to be honest. Then some more bi-weekly matches, and then ACL is this weekend, is the week 5 weekend. But I think they are gonna have to either postpone this match or they're gonna have to postpone this match or just cancel it or something. And then the final week league is April 11, 12. Why is week 6 league April 11, 12? Why not? I think it's just every other week starting February 1st. And then the actual big tourney, I mean, the weeklies are going to be pretty important as well, but these playoffs are huge. These playoffs are huge. And then, so these playoffs, the team that comes first gets a Worlds invite. Team that comes second gets a Worlds invite. And the team that gets first gets like a $9,000 cash prize per player. So it's a big, big, big prize. Like, it's probably the biggest cash prize other than Worlds for Unite that we've ever had. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. I'll play for that. And then if your team doesn't get a world spot, so the world spots will come from EUIC, the playoffs, which is top 2, and then, or like the finals, I guess. But yeah, the top 2. So you get a world spot, EUIC, regional finals. If you don't get it from there, you get to play in the last chance qualifiers, right? each region will have their own last chance qualifiers. You're getting another spot through here, right? So one NA, one EU, and one LATAM team can come through here. And if you still don't have your world spot, oh, and then I guess ACL as well, you could get it, which will be here. And if you still don't have it, then NAIC will be a big tourney to get your world spot. And then it's Worlds is the big tourney. Do you already have a world spot? No. So LAIC top 3 granted us invite to ACL, which like I said, isn't listed here. Which isn't listed here. But the only way a Western team gets to go to ACL is through LAIC. So it was a very, to be honest, this was probably the most important IC to do well in. Because the other ICs are world spots, but you could, you know, there's a lot of other places to get world spots. The ACL spot was way, way, way bigger. What's up, Coke Bell? Thank you, thank you. Groudon does feel better than Ray. I agree. Yeah, we get to go to Japan. That's the big thing. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming this week will be canceled or postponed. So we'll probably like leave right after this match, as soon as after as we can. And then come back in time for this or not play this. I don't know. I don't know how we're gonna, I don't really know how we're gonna do it yet. We'll figure that out though. But I want to maximize the time I spend in Japan, because who knows when I'll go out after this journey. Travel award or just qualify? Qualify and you get travel award. It's crazy the winners of the first big tournament had a hard time getting an org. Everyone has a hard time getting an org with how they set it up, but I'm just glad the org that we got is the best org. Are you AOS Cup qualified already? So the ICs are open to any team. Like literally you could make a team and join and sign up for EUIC if you wanted. There's no qualification for any of the ICs. You just show up. You just sign up and show up. Sign up, show out, play the game. Hashtag Digwin. Okay, we should do, why are they the best org? It's just my opinion. I'm not biased at all. What was cool though, because, so basically they signed us not even a week before LAIC, or practically exactly a week before. So we weren't gonna have jerseys and stuff in time. And they were planning on sending someone from the org to Brazil to hand deliver the jerseys so we could have jerseys on stage. And the only reason they weren't able to do it was the guy didn't have a visa and you needed to apply to get a visa. So even just the thought that they would do that is like pretty hype to me. They were like, yo, don't worry, we're sending a guy, he's coming. And then like 12 hours later, they're like, well, you have to apply for a visa. And we're like, yeah, we all applied for a visa. But yeah, we'll be kitted out for EUIC. We'll be kitted out well before EUIC. But we'll for sure be kitted out for EUIC. Qualifications to sign up for the ICs, nothing. You just have to have an eligible device to play. You just have to have like a device everyone can play on. You need to have a Switch 2, or a phone. Winning is the best first impression. True. Winning is a good first impression. All right, guys, let's set up the tier list. I'm gonna fill some water up so my throat doesn't get too dry, because I'm gonna be doing a lot of yapping, so I'll be right back real quick. When Rayquaza soars up in the sky, dance with Ray, make me slay. Like the wind that's roaring evermore, stay with Ray, slay me more. Like a dragon ruling with such ease, bend with Ray, slay with me. When we battle, raise the one for me, stay with me, slay with me. Other trainers may be on the path, Ray, but my eyes will see only you. Only Ray has that magic technique. When we slay, I go weak. I can feel the sound of in the lead long before your team. Make us win as only you know how. Slay with Ray, slay me now. When Rayquaza soars up in the sky, dance with Ray, make me slay. Like the wind that's roaring evermore, stay with Ray, slay me more. Like a dragon ruling with such ease, bend with Ray, slay with me. When we battle, raise the one for me, stay with me, slay with me. Other trainers may be on the path, Ray, but my eyes will see only you. Only Ray has that magic technique. When we slay, I go weak. I can feel the sound of in the lead long before your team. Make us win as only you know how. Slay with Ray, slay me now. Hi. All right, we're back. So let's get this tier list started. Also, I didn't even finish or start the Groudon song. And we're going to need to do a Kyogre song soon. Good thing a lot of stuff rhymes with Kyogre, though. Vaporeon tonight. I have to buy it or get it. It's raining Kyogre. Hallelujah. You missed a chat? I'm sure I missed a lot of chats, bro. I'm not a good streamer. I miss them often. I think, oh, yeah, I guess you guys can see this. This is my personal tier list going into the event. Of stuff that I would play in tourney. And see, I played Blissey, I played Hoopa, I played Clef. I didn't end up playing Umbreon. Don't think I played Comfey. I only played Eld. Don't think the Suicune came out. Wiggly I played, Lottie I played, both these individual games. Kremi's really good. This isn't a tier list on strength. This was a tier list on this was a tier list on like me, like my value in terms of me playing them. Like I probably wasn't going to play any of these. Only because like me and the team didn't have enough practice with my creams. Like the Alchemy games were going well in scrims when we played them at first, but a lot of times it'd be like someone would accidentally walk on them. And it requires a lot of team practice, you know, like in the middle of the fight, like Zug just ends up eating like half the fruits by accident. It's like, what the hell? So, you know, we needed more practice as a team. Decorate not good enough? No, if I was going to play Decorate, I would just be Trick Hoopa, which is what I played a whole lot of Trick Hoopa in the tourney. And then Duck, I just didn't have enough practice. I wasn't fresh enough on. And also, like, if I'm going to be the non-healer, I'd probably end up on either Suicune or Wiggly. And I had a really good Wiggly game. And then Sableye, same idea. I just didn't have enough practice on it. Like, I wanted, you know, if I have like these all characters are very strong and I'm more practiced on, I would prefer these. But let's reset this. And let's do it. Let's get rid of this for now. Okay. So we just won LAIC. Time to make a tier list. This is exclusively for fives, team-based gameplay, and my thoughts after LAIC. So kind of the thoughts I had leading up to the event, kind of my thoughts after the event as well. And it's not exclusively what my team thought was good, because there was some stuff that I thought was good, but we didn't play, which is fine. You know, that happens. Let's add an S+ tier. So I think we need that. Oh, oops. What color is this? Red. This one I want to make like white. There we go. S+. And then I think what we're going to do is we'll go through per role. That way it's really organized. And it's easy to start with attacker, because I think this tournament, a lot of you might not have realized it, but attacker was probably the role that had the strongest Pokemon. You might want to think it's all-rounder because that's where the mega Pokemon are, but I think the attackers were actually the strong ones. Miraidon S+ tier. So this is one immediately off the bat you might think is a little crazy. You're like, oh, I played this Pokemon in solo queue, it doesn't really do much. Thing about in competitive is it has all the tools to be an incredibly strong Pokemon, right? Some of the things that you want from your attacker: very strong laning, right? It's very good last hitting in lane. It doesn't really have any kind of level ranges where it's not that strong, right? You're strong right off the bat, so you're good at laning at level 1, level 2, level 3. You hit 5, you get Charge Beam. Charge Beam, really strong move, coupled with the passive as well. The level 7 Thunder, it's a pretty big spike. That's not bad. The Unite move is really good. You can use the Unite move defensively for Unstoppable. It ramps up in damage. It's really good at holding pads. It's really good at preventing the other team from flipping. It's really good when you are flipping. It just does too much damage. The one downside Miraidon has is that it can sometimes be weakened to certain speedsters. Not all of them, but certain ones, like Dodrio's really annoying, Talonflame. The speedsters that are very hard to hit, because Charge Beam is like, you know, a straight line you can't turn around. For those matchups, you can play Electro Drift, and there was some Electro Drift I got played at LAIC. And then also, like, you know, it's a competitive game. If the other team is going to pick and lock themselves into counters, your team can kind of make them, you know, can check those counters or counter the counters. So yeah, Miraidon S+ here, immediately great Pokemon. Another Pokemon that was really strong, I'm going to put it in the S tier and we might move it down. But this Pokemon was also really strong this tournament, and that was Alolan Raichu. Two different really strong builds. Stored Power, that got buffed recently as well, was probably one of the best jungle Pokemon in the tournament. To be able to just play it as like an ADC type Pokemon. Really very does a lot of damage. It's super sticky with red buff. Does a good amount of AoE damage, good at ripping objectives. Very hard to take down, very good at kiting, just really good. Decent laner as well. Not as strong as Miraidon, but definitely strong. Or you could play the Electro Ball build, which still gives you a lot of the kiting power. But now you get some burst damage, you get some vision control with putting them into bushes. You get a last hit on objectives. You technically go Thunderbolt, so you get some CC with that. A lot of different ways, a lot of different things that make this character really strong. And it's very powerful. Like there's just so many different things, like setting up Electro Balls on Natu, setting them Electro Balls on bees, being able to take farm off the map really quickly, being able to be mobile. being able to scale really well into the late game. Super, super strong Pokemon. Other than that, I think the other attackers, while they were strong, definitely weren't as strong. Some that come to mind are Mew. Mew, I don't have to talk much about this Pokemon. It's been historically pretty good. Strong laner, some good scaling. Definitely the recent Mew changes that had it where your Solar Beam does a lot less damage in the early game and it does, ramps up in the late game. Definitely a lot noticeable. You can't really be beaming in the early game anymore until you're level 9, ideally level 10 and onwards. And because of that and just how Mew works, that you really want to be level 13, one disadvantage that Mew has over the other attackers is that Mew has points in the game where it's weak. And if Mew doesn't get to the level thresholds that it wants to get on the right levels, on the right timers, it can definitely feel a lot weaker. EXP share Mew, kind of still viable, but now that there's, Hoopa is still really strong, Latias exists, and that Latias does a lot of the same things that Mew would do with coaching. And it, Dragon Cheer is even stronger in that respect. That plus Surf getting nerfed in the early game makes it so that Mew is much harder to pilot as a support. You probably still could have, but not nearly as strong as Miraidon or Raichu. Another Pokemon, one that we didn't really play a lot on our team, even though we do have Inteleon players, is Inteleon. So Inteleon, I think, definitely used to be an S, maybe even S plus Pokemon in the past. This tourney, it definitely felt more, a little bit weaker. Obviously, a while ago, Fellstringer got changed, so you can't Fellstringer and buffer it through crowd control anymore. So that's like a big weakness that Inteleon has. The early game is a little bit weaker because you can't store as many crit counters, but it's still really strong Pokemon. Kind of a soft-ish counter to the other attackers, right? Especially Miraidon. If you're playing Beam, you're not going to be very mobile. You kind of lock yourself into the Charge Beam animation. So you become an easy target to hit. Also have a pretty big hitbox. So when you're making your drafts in competitive, you kind of have to have Inteleon on the back of your mind, right? The way the drafts end up going is like, okay, we can't or we shouldn't commit to healers or supports that can't heal unless we're going to be going all in and diving them, because if we do, then Inteleon will be a rough matchup for us, right? Or, it's reasons why you might see Crustle get picked really high. Crustle's really, really strong, but it's also a good counter to Inteleon, right? So Inteleon's like this Pokemon that it might not get drafted as much as it's considered it can be drafted. And when it does get drafted, right, another way people have figured out how to counter this, we were doing this last year on Nouns a lot, but a lot more teams are doing it now, is you put the Assault Vest on. If Inteleon's one of the only special attackers on the other team, Assault Vest is really, really OP because Inteleon only does single target damage. You just send the Assault Vest guy at the Inteleon. Inteleon has a tough time breaking through the shield. So strong Pokemon, but definitely not in the S tier. Another really strong attacker, and I think this one, to be honest, if we stayed on this meta, Espeon could very much even move up a tier, but I'm just gonna put it in A tier because that's kind of where it was ended up being from a perspective wise. But Espeon gives you a lot of things that are powerful that we ask from attackers. You get strong laning. It's an attacker that can give you a last hit on objectives if you go Side Beam, Side Shock. Soft counter to speedsters if you go in Stored Power. It can be in the jungle and do some one buff jungling. It can go into the top lane, go in the bottom lane. You could even, take it a step further and play EXP share on it if you have to in some games. Unite move that can engage. It got some tank buffs recently, like some defense buffs and HP buffs not that long ago. So I think it has a lot of potential and it's a really strong character. But we didn't see, I guess, that come to fruition as much. Our team played it a handful of games when Miraidon was banned. Other teams picked it as well. I think it's got a lot of potential. At what point at this point, what role isn't Suicune? Yeah, Suicune definitely does feel like it could be in the attacker spot, but we'll save it for the all-rounders. Another Pokemon that I think goes in the A tier that you didn't get to see that much of this weekend, but it was picked a little bit, is Cinderace. I honestly think like it's getting close to being even in higher territory, but A tier is fair. It definitely has bad matchups, but Cinder just does a lot of damage. Obviously, it's an attacker, but different from the other attackers in the sense that it doesn't usually start in the lane, or if it does, it won't stay there for very long. It wants to take the jungle farm. But in competitive, you can play this with a pocket. It gives you a last hit if you go Pyro Ball, or even the Unite move is a very strong last hitting tool, which is important to be able to take out objectives with. And it's just strong. Like, it comes out of the jungle, it starts auto attacking you with the red buff at level 5. If you can get out of the game and scale with it, it's strong. But it's definitely, of the attackers, it's the weakest when it doesn't get farm. So you have to prioritize farming on it. It doesn't match up that great into some of the heavy long range damage, especially like Inteleon. But you can draft it alongside a Blissey, alongside like a Trick Hoopa, or even Eldegoss. I even think, you could match it with an Alcremie if the other team doesn't have too much damage. And you can make a lot of things work with this. I think there's one more meta attacker, I would say, and I would probably say it's Armarouge. We'll move it down a tier because I don't think it's as strong as these other ones, but definitely still has a lot of potential. You can play it in like more of a tanky kind of role with Fire Spin, put a Focus Band on with Psyshock, do some damage that way. It has a really good combo where if you hit someone with Psyshock, you can immediately Unite move them, and it gives you some stun from range, which, Espeon's like the only real character that has it. Raichu has a little bit stun. One thing Armarouge is really good at is if you stick it in a lane, it's really hard for characters in that lane to get stacked. It does a lot of damage over time, which is really annoying to score against. And then the other thing is the early game move that Charcadet has, Incinerate, makes it so that you get less healing from berries. And one of the common ways that you stack in a lane is you go and, you immediately walk to their lane, you stack. If you take too much damage, you X-speed behind the enemy pad and steal their berries. But doing that into Armarouge, who's typically going to have Cursed Incense on, makes it so that kind of gameplay is really, really, really hard to accomplish. How many bot lane stackers are there right now? Well, the way the game gets played is sometimes you can do lane swaps and send your stacking character in the opposite side of the lane if that lane is going to be a little weak, or you can send your healer in the opposite side of the lane and let them stack there while your guy safely does the farm behind you while you're distracting them. But Armarouge kind of breaks that gameplay loop. And naturally has like a good matchup into the AoE healers, like into Clef, because the enemy team's likely going to be grouped. You get to stun them on the group. You get to anti-heal them on the group. So it's not like I wouldn't say it's a counter to Clef, but it's a good check to Clef. And it's not a bad laner altogether in terms of its kit to last hit things. Some things that we didn't get to see in the tournament too much, but are strong. We'll talk about them a little bit. Mystical Fire, Flame Charge, Gelfox specifically. Flame Charge got buffed not too long ago where it does a decent amount of damage. It's a good late game carry Pokemon. But it needs its level 11 and then it needs its level 13. And right now in the meta, it's more like this is a very strong Pokemon at 11 and 13, obviously. But the other Pokemon are strong at 11 and 13 as well. Miraidon, Mew, Raichu especially. And it's more like, why wouldn't you just pick something that also has good early game and good late game as opposed to strictly only having really good late game? But into some matchups, this Pokemon is a beast for sure. Say Venusaur, not a bad secondary option as a sniper versus Inteleon. A little bit weaker as a laner. It's a little different. It's tankier. The damage is more AoE oriented as opposed to single target. But after the nerfs that I got, it's definitely noticeably weaker. And then same thing as Delphox. It's like you know, it needs like certain level thresholds to be strong, as opposed to Miraidon and Raichu are just always strong. Pikachu, you know, Pikachu's never going to be terrible. Having access to, you know, the mage build to stun people or Volt Tackle. I think it's always going to be solid. So we'll leave that up there. Some other B tier Pokemon, probably Latios. Specifically, if you get Latios, it can be a decent late game scaling Pokemon. Yeah, I don't know. Not much to say. It's you just have to get your stacks for this Pokemon to be strong. So if you can make a comp around getting stacks, it's not bad. And I think I wouldn't put any of the other attackers in this tier. Maybe Gardevoir. We can make an argument for Gardevoir. Gardevoir, definitely the weaker of the B tier attackers, and its kind of job is to be really good at taking down like bulky melees that aren't too much of a threat to this Pokemon. So if the other team doesn't have like a speedster that can get on top of your head, or a tank like Crustle that can be really annoying for you putting up those walls, it's not bad to take down some really like frontline heavy teams. But the other Pokemon do that job just as well, and then they don't have the same weaknesses that Gardevoir has. But maybe in a draft where you know, Miraidon and Raichu are banned, the other team has some really bulky melees, Gardevoir could be a decent option, but it would be really, really draft specific. The other ones I would probably put lower. Mewtwo Y I think is pretty close to unplayable. It kind of got nerfed and it lost an item slot, and the item was really, really important on this character when it was played. I think Duraludon's pretty close to unplayable. I actually don't think Glaceon's that bad. I think Glaceon, similar to Guardy, definitely has like a lot of damage it can throw out. But given the fact that there's just so many other good attackers, I don't think you're going to see it get played. So thanks for to tier 1. Congrats on Lake. You too. GZ. Love Lake. Let's see. Greninja. Right. A lot of these Pokemon, I'm going to have the same kind of comment on them, that they have like, they have Pokemon that fill their slot just as well, that aren't going to really be targeted by draft. Like a lot of times Guardy's going to do very similar things to Glaceon. Not exactly the same, but similar. And, you know, chances are Guardy will be better. Chances are Cinder will be better than Ninja in a lot of cases. And you're going to get access to Cinder a lot of times. Definitely Ninja has some nicer backline access. But it's just a little too squishy, I think, for how the meta is played right now. More traditional mages, A9, Candle, just not really strong meta for them. It's just same idea. The other ones just do its job better. We saw a team that actually played some Sylveon there. It looks like they were having like decent success, one of the Brazilian teams. And I think there's a lot of Brazilian teams playing Mystical Fire Sylve. I haven't seen it really excel a lot. So I could very well be wrong on it, and it could just be a B tier Pokemon. I have no idea. But I don't know. I saw some teams use it. It didn't seem great, but it didn't seem awful either. Cram, I think, is close to unplayable. The ult definitely is a little bit more niche. And maybe we make another tier. Like an F tier, just so we can have a little bit of delineation. Like this probably feels more right to me. This is where I put Dragapult. I think Desi is like a niche sniper as well. I definitely think there's like opportunity, like the way Desi becomes a playable Pokemon is, let's say the other team like 4-5's Gardevoir because your team picked a lot of you know, melees, and the other team also has a decent amount of melees, but you want to have a sniper, and maybe Intel's banned, or maybe they have like melees and a guard, and you don't want to pick a speedster. Suddenly, like Desi's a Pokemon, it can outrange the guard, hit the guard, It can hit the melees. If it's an easy game to get stacked on. Yeah, like there's definitely opportunities for Desi to be good, but it's not generally good and it's not very meta defining. But okay, I'm pretty happy with the attackers. I think this makes sense. This is kind of how your list should be anyways. Like there should be a majority of the characters towards the middle and some outliers on both sides. And you know, a lot of the C tier stuff could be B tier and a lot of the B tier stuff could be C tier, but this is kind of how I see it. Why wouldn't you pick Venu over Desi? Couple reasons. Desi is better to start in the jungle because it clears a little bit. It could clear a little bit faster. Its auto attacks do more damage and it has longer auto attack range, so it's like better at level 5 in terms of auto attacking things. But even Venu could work in that case as well. Desi can scale better in the late game with attack weight and bracer, whereas Venu can't really stack, and stacking is way less effective on it. Even with lens, it's a little bit less effective. But there is a lot of cases where you would just Venu over Desi, which is why, you know, I would put her in a tier below. And then obviously in the attacker kind of role, there's Pokemon like Latias and Suicune that can kind of fill the attacker-ish role, but we'll save those for when we get there. Okay. All-rounder, the role that has some cringe, some giga cringe in it. We saw a lot of mega Pokemon at LAIC not have success. We saw, I think Mega Charizard X had an abysmal win rate. And I think there's a good amount of reasons for it. One, it did get some pretty heavy nerfs and it's not as strong as it was on release. That's for sure. Two, because leading into the event, it was just banned in a lot of teams' practice. Not a lot of players got experience on these mega Pokemon. And I think that's a big deal, right? Like pro players aren't perfect at the game. They need practice on the respective characters to perform well on them. And without that practice, they're gonna look bad on them. And then the other reason is that a mega Pokemon, if it's gonna be picked, it gets really picked high in the draft. Which means that teams have an opportunity to counter it, right? And there's a lot of stuff that counters the megas, particularly Megazard in the meta. Like Duck was one that people were using a lot. Suicune's a natural counter. And I think one thing that my team figured out really well that I think some other teams also caught on to, but not every team didn't catch on to this, is that for Megazard to really excel well, you do want to pair it with a support that can help enable it. And the one that I liked the most was Trick Hoopa, because it gives it speed, it gives it a way to come out, it gives a little bit of sustain. And then the other reason is that it gives your lanes strong early game. Right? Megazard, you need level 9. It's not that good before level 9. And having some good side lanes, right? Hoopa lane is going to be strong, would make it so that when Megazard did want to go out and fight, it would, in the early game, it would have an opportunity to fight. Does it suffer the same issue as Darkrai last LIC when it was emergency buff, then permaban whole tourney, but when it went through, it lost every game? Kind of. They're different cases, right? Last LAIC, the Darkrai build that was better was Dark Void. I think the same thing that happened last LAIC with Darkrai is the same thing that happened this LAIC. Is truly the players weren't practiced enough on it. If we played this meta game longer, I think we would see some more Megazard X. That being said, it hardly gets touched in ACL. But anyways, time to rate it. I think it's an S tier Pokemon. I think it's like very close to being S plus, but there's a different all-rounder that I'm going to put in S plus that you'll see. And it won't, for most of you, it won't be the Pokemon you're expecting, but when we get there, we'll talk about it. But yeah, I think the Pokemon's still really strong. It has a lot of great things going for it, but it's not a perfect Pokemon. Let's put some other S tier all-rounders. I think Mega Lucario is S tier, but worse than Megazard. A big thing about Mega Lucario is that it's squishy. Normal Pup CC Luca has Steadfast, which is a passive that contributes to a lot of effective HP, almost like having a focus band built into the character. But Mega Lucario trades that for more damage. And if you don't get stacks on this Pokemon, it's hard for you to actually leverage that damage, which means that you have to play the early game well or have a plan around it. And even then, it's going to be a little squishy. But this one is still crazy good. Like, you get it onto an objective, it's going to take down the objective. It can start fights with Power Up Punch. Close combat is ridiculous, especially in the Unite move form. It's super strong, but it does have its issues, and a lot of it comes from the bulk. And you can't really fix those issues on the bulk because you don't have enough item slots. So yeah, I think the Mega Pokemon actually being down in item does limit their potential, which is kind of how they're meant to be balanced, which is cool. And I think they're kind of in a spot where they don't feel horrible that they exist in the game anymore. But maybe they could get like small little tweaks still. Another one that's only all-rounder by name, but I guess we might as well talk about it, is Suicune. It gets played more so in the defender and supporter kind of role, mostly because you want to put EXP share on it. The Pokemon doesn't really scale well with damage items. Like its damage really just comes from its baseline kit, or otherwise its job is to really CC you. And because you want to be leveraging the crowd control, you want to be in the front line, you want to put defensive items on, and because most of your job is just crowd control, you don't need to be over leveled to do that most of the time, which makes EXP share naturally good, and you're a strong laner. You put Suicune in the lane with another Pokemon, and you accelerate that Pokemon's farm really well. It's good. But one thing that's funny that people do with Suicune, my team does it a lot, pretty much all the top teams do, is going down the path, they'll give solo EXP. They'll get solo EXP on one of the bunnies as they walk down the lane. The reason you do that is so that the first piece of farm you contest in the lane, Suicune will be level 3 and it has its damage combo that it can do. But one Pokemon you can't do that with as your lane partner is Zacian, right? And a good segue to talk about Zacian, right? So Zacian is a Pokemon that you have to be really greedy with in lane, because Zacian needs to get all 3 last hits, whether, you know, EXP share is there or not. It needs all 3 last hits because it needs to start the lane with 6 money, 2 from each lane minion, which means that you can't accelerate your supports farm, which means that the Zacian Suicune lane is slightly weaker. The Zacian Hoopa lane is slightly weaker, but Zacian Hoopa lane is really, really broken, so that doesn't really end up mattering. And the same thing with Zacian Eld. Zacian Eld's a really strong lane, but Zacian is a Pokemon that takes all the farm from your lane, which is fine, right? It does a lot with it. It's an incredibly strong laner. It does a lot of damage in the early game. But Zacian's main tool that it offers the team is that it has really good objective control. So strong laner, it gets ahead, denies the enemy laner a lot of farm, and then when team fights break out, he's like a good dog. He just goes to the objectives and he hits the objectives, right? You send your team at the enemy team to distract them. Zacian goes behind you, hits the objective, has a way to rip the objective, has a way to secure the objective. And that's like 90% of Zacian gameplay. And then the other 10% is you just hide in bushes. And when someone walks near you and you're in a bush, you just full combo them. You know, you play rough into Metal Claw, or, you know, boosted play rough into Metal Claw into play rough, or whatever you need to do. And you can chase people down once you already start on top of them because your boosted autos, your 4th boosted auto also gives you a dash. This Pokemon, really, really strong, but it has like a really awkward phase in the game where I would say you can't really put it in S+, where if the other team has a stronger early game, right? If they have the Hoopa lane and their jungler is slightly stronger, like let's say your jungler is a Megazord and their jungler is like a Speedster or Water Bear, and their supporter is stronger than yours, right? You can really kind of over aggress onto the Zacian. And if the Zacian starts to get a little underleveled, it can find some trouble finding its way back in the game. The other thing is a very strong lane counterdization that prevents it from being S+ tier is that it's pretty countered by Blastoise, which is a pretty popular Pokemon in the meta. Blastoise kind of gets played as an all-rounder, but we'll talk about it when we get to the defender point. But Spin Blastoise, Spin Pump Blastoise, it's good against Zacian in lane because it can push it off the farm and be able to secure it on the farm. And then in team fights, you know, you just chip away at its HP. It can never really stick onto you. It can never stun you because you're hindrance resistance. If the Zacian ever tries to all in, it can just get Unite moved. So yeah, a lot of reasons why Zacian is an S+, but it is good to build your team around. And then yeah, it has the objective control. Another all-rounder, honestly, a lot of all-rounders are just broken. Blaziken, similar kind of idea as Zacian, you get good objective control. You get some good team fighting as well. We see a lot of teams put Blaziken in the jungle now to guarantee the level 5. Level 5 for the first set of bees means you can blaze kick them towards your team, which you can use to accelerate more farm and get your team further ahead. That's a nice little play you can do. Generally, you can get either level 7 or sometimes level 8 for Regidrago. Ryan, thanks for the tier 3.
Dura in S+ if it did 10 KD MG crits.
If it did 10 KD MG crits, it would be S+. Agreed. Thanks for the tier 3. Blaziken can get level 7, sometimes level 8 on Regidrago, and being able to secure that early game Regidrago can accelerate your team's XP, which is really good. And then yeah, it just does a lot of similar things to Zacian, but it's slightly better at fighting. Mostly because you trade your big secure in your Unite move with having more consistent punching and team fighting with Blaziken's form swap. Why isn't Suicune S+ tier? So the thing about Suicune, right, is you have to think who is Suicune, like who are its contemporaries, right? It's other supports and other defenders. If you put it in the support slot, suddenly now your team lacks sustain. So you have to be really careful about drafting Suicune, because if you draft Suicune and the other team has an Inteleon or a Mew or even a Miraidon, right, they can do a lot of damage in team fights, and now you don't have sustain, right? And if you don't have sustain, that means every single damage that Miraidon does in the late game team fight is essentially permanent damage unless that character backs, right? And so you lose the opportunity cost of having a healer. If you slot it into the defender slot, now you're lacking a character who can throw its body at other characters and being able to really, really hardcore engage team fights, right? Like not having something like Snorlax, not having something like Umbreon or Mamoswine that can really just instantly start the fight, and being able to control bushes with its body, with having that bit more bulk. Like these things are all really, really important to your team, right? Whereas if you take the only character I have in the S+ so far, Miraidon, who are Miraidon's, counterparts? It's like Raichu, it's like Mew, it's like Espeon, it's like Inteleon. All of them, it's not like by having Miraidon, now you're missing out on having a Raichu or something. It's like, no, you're just trading a different damage dealer for a different damage dealer. It's just a better damage dealer. You don't necessarily lose that much. The only thing, the negative to Miraidon would be that you're a little bit more susceptible to some speedsters. But you can make up for that in the rest of your draft. Whereas with Suicune, still very, 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 very strong, you might miss out on some things. And then same idea. Is there no world where we would go attacker Suicune? Basically same kind of idea. If you put Suicune in the attacker slot now you're missing out on all these incredibly broken damage dealers, whether it's Miraidon, whether it's Raichu, whether it's Inteleon. So yeah, and then yeah, Miraidon also has access to Electro Drift, which gives you a whole nother thing. So these S tier Pokemon are really, really good. Miraidon's just in that S plus tier, IMHO. But let's continue with the all-rounders. Another S tier all-rounder. This was one that I was shocked, but also not shocked that my team was one of the only ones that really leveraged this at LAIC was Serena. Serena's close to being an A tier. In fact, I might even put it in the A tier. I think A tier makes more sense. I think A tier makes more sense at the top of the A tier, but still very, 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 very strong. You definitely have to build your comp around Serena in a lot of cases, right? There's a lot of different archetypes with Serena. The traditional like Japanese archetype, at least for the last World Championship, was Serena Clef. We used to see a lot of Serena Blissey. What our team was doing was a lot of Serena Trick Hoopa. Minzella had some good synergy with that. We threw in some Dragon Cheers on Latias to really accelerate that some more. So you want to be mindful of building around your Serena, both in terms of composition on what the supporting cast is, but also around how you lane it. Because Serena does need level 6, right? You want to think of Serena as like a Gyarados tier of Pokemon, but not as bad as Magikarp, where it's like really, 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 really weak, and then it spikes and gets really strong. Razor Leaf is not a bad move in the early game, though, right? You can definitely do some funny stuff with Serena in lanes. It's not nowhere near as bad as Carp, but it definitely like has it's like a switch where you go from 5 to 6, and now you're really a character. And yeah, I mean, we just abused, a big part of our tourney was just abusing Lottie and Trick on Serena, and it worked. And then we got to the semifinals, and Force Gaming, was it Force or was it Infamous? I think it was Force. They just started banning the Serena, and that was their way. Instead of countering the Latias, they were like, we'll counter the battery instead of, or we'll counter like the operator instead of the enablers, right? So yeah, I mean, I think it's really strong. We see a lot of Eastern teams still play Serena, and I imagine more Western teams will continue playing the Pokemon. It's very, very strong. There's one that I'm saving, and I've seen a couple of you already talk about. Maybe we'll bring it up now, is Mimikyu. I think this thing is S plus tier. I genuinely think this might have been one or two strongest Pokemon of the tournament. We had a decent amount of practice on it where, Toon didn't really play this a lot going into the event. I think he spammed it as soon as the thing got buffed. But a lot of Toon's practice was on ping because he was still in the UK at the time before the event. Otter played it a little bit, and we're probably going to get Zealot some practice on it as well. But I was really shocked to see the other teams weren't playing it. We saw Trick Room, Mimi, Fob played it. Fob had a good game against us on it. And definitely it wasn't like it was absent. It wasn't absent from the tournament. But I think this genuinely had an argument to be the best Pokemon at the event. The sneak buffs are insane. It does so much damage now. Trick Room is just an incredibly strong ability. At some point, they reworked how Trick Room works. Stealth changes, where even if a melee character is hitting you from outside of the Trick Room damage reduction still applies. So if if Mega Charizard Flare Blitzes you from outside of Trick Room, even though he walks inside Trick Room before it hits you, it counts as starting from outside of Trick Room, and the damage reduction still applies, which is insane. Same with like Brave Bird Talon, Empoleon ult. I don't know if that's a bug or that's like a stealth change that they did. Character is really, really good. Period. Right? It's just it's an all-rounder that is constantly in the middle of the fight, and it received so many defensive buffs and damage buffs. And it kind of just takes out all the speedsters from the game. And then you also just forget, right? I mean, everyone always forgets. I forget it. That inside Trick Room, Mimikyu can't be slowed, and sources of slows get changed to speed instead. Which, you know, an interaction that you might not think about, but a character that people like to pick to counter all-rounder, Psyduck. The way Psyduck stun works on Surf is Psyduck Surf only stuns if the target's already been slowed. And Mimikyu essentially being immune to slows makes it so that it's immune to Psyduck Surf in Trick Room. Like, it's actually just immune to a very popular counter that people would want to play it into it, right? And then, right, all of that, after all of that, Mimikyu also just happens to have Slowbro ult, where it just breaks unstoppable. So, yeah, it's just the best character in the game. I don't know. We didn't first pick it as much because, you know, we had different strategies that were working for us. We were kind of expecting most of the teams to show up to this event and spam this and change our priority to it. That wasn't the case. A lot of people were sleeping on this mon. Tournaments going forward, I think this game is this mon is just going to see more and more and more and more play. People were definitely playing Trick Room. We got Trick Roomed one game. We lost 2 games in the entire tournament. Literally, we only lost 2 games in the whole tournament, and one of the games we lost was to Trick Room Mimikyu. I think in that entire set, Force Gaming had banned Mimikyu in games 1, 2, and 3. Then they unbanned it in game 4 and picked it for themselves. Because in game 3, we had a good read that we would steal the Raichu away from them, which forced Fob onto Empoleon, because he couldn't pick Mimikyu for himself because they were banning it from themselves. Because they were banning it from us as well, because we were playing a good amount of it. And then in game 4, they unbanned it, and you know, we weren't as prepared for it. I think we still could have won that game, but we had a little bit of trouble into it. And then I think game 5, we just banned it. But yeah, that's the other S+ tier Pokemon I would put. We'll try to put one mon in each role in that S+ tier, but it might be a little hard to do that. We'll see. Let's round out these all-rounders though. Delmise was ineligible to play, so we'll move those to the side. Delmise wasn't legal for the event. I think the other strong tier Pokemon I would see is Buzzwole. It's funny to put Buzz beside Serena because Buzz is like a soft counter to this Pokemon, right? Serena's job is to go infinite in team fights. And it hates the hard CC that Buzz provides. Buzz's CC for the most part doesn't care for tenacity, which is, you know, something that Serena does happen to have more of than other all-rounders. And being able to kidnap it away from the team, being able to snowball the early game when Serena's still trying to get its levels means that Buzzwole has an opportunity to go crazy. But Buzz is like the definition of you know, feast or famine. You need to have a strong laning support with it. You need support from the jungle. But once Buzz gets online, you know, it can run the entire game. And if you guys watched the tournament, it was Tuzzy versus Peru, where Mazo was on the Buzzwole. And, you know, games 2 and 3, he pretty much just took control of them. He got to the Ray fight, waited for the enemy or Shifu to not have full heal up. The moment his full heal wasn't up, Buzz just did his eject smackdown combo into superpower. The other team had, or Tuzzy, Mazo's team had all the damage ready to go behind it, and they just full comboed, right? And Buzz being able to start fights like that with eject is what makes the character super, super strong. But it is like high risk, high reward, right? If you don't get that eject combo off, or if the other team anticipates it or is prepared for it, then it can be really scary. But you leave this thing alone in a lane, it's going to win a lot of farm, or it's going to KO, it's going to win its 1v1. You get this thing ahead, and it's really, really scary. The other high tier all-rounder, there's a lot of these, there's so many, is Water Bear. I think it's another A tier all-rounder. The reason why this one's A tier is that it needs to start in the jungle. It cannot lane, and it needs to get level 5 for it to come online, and Kubfu is quite weak, right? So what all of that spells out is a disaster if it gets invaded. So there's a popular strategy that was used in like the Groudon Cup, you know, the community tournament that we saw. It's something that happens a lot in scrims or a lot in community tournaments, where teams will pick Water Bear, and then they'll complement the Water Bear with either Zacian or Blaziken or Mega Lucario, right? And the idea is you take Water Bear and you take a very strong pocket support, normally Blissey, right? And you combine them together into a Death Ball, where the Water Bear presses its Unite move and just starts, you know, surging towards the other team with the Blissey ult kind of bowling ball with it. And your natural inclination when the bowling ball is coming your way is for you to back up in the team fights, right? Right? You need to kite away because you can't fight it, right? A Urshi Water Bear ulted, double buffed Blissey ulted Water Bear, you have to run away from it, right? So what they would do, they would do that, and at the same time that was happening, they would send their Zacian or Blaziken to solo hit Rayquaza or solo hit Groudon, right? This is a strategy. I think Mbappe did a lot of this. Anisus's team did a lot of this. A lot of the strong teams in the tournament were doing this strategy a lot. But if you kind of reverse engineer it, there's two things to it. One, it starts to get really obvious at 220 when they start pressing their ults. You're like, oh, we actually can't run and give them space. They're going to flip the objective. So you just start pressing your own ults, right, to counter them and to just at least neutralize it or only lose the fight by a little bit, enough that you don't get flipped on. And you take a 5v4 fight because they're going to send one to the objective. And then the other way is you start to pick away at the holes in this comp, right? Water Bear, like I said, very, very, very susceptible to getting invaded, right? I invaded in the tournament as a Clef, one of the games, into Water Bear, and my disarming voice is a strong enough last hit that I can beat Kubfu with it, right? And if you go and invade it, suddenly their lane needs to send one person to assist the Water Bear and get it out of the jungle. Now that there's 2v1 in the jungle and there's someone from the lane is left to help the Water Bear, now that lane that has two people in it, 2v1 in it, you know, I tell my laners are like, oh, someone left to help in the jungle. The invader starts to play a little safer and the 2v1 lane aggresses. And now suddenly, if the Water Bear wants to gank a lane, it has to gank a lane late because it got invaded and gank a lane that's weaker because it's getting 2v1'd. And then on top of that, you know, its most popular pocket supports are probably Blissey and Comfy, both of which are slightly weaker, or significantly weaker laners than things like Hoopa and Latias and Suicune. So yeah, you have to do it. The end of the story is you have to do really, really well in the early game into Water Bear, and then you have to anticipate the other team flipping, which were two big things that, you know, the more and more you practiced against it, the more and more obvious it was what was going on. And those are the reasons why it's not S or S plus tier. It's still a very strong Pokemon. And in the right hands and in capable hands, if this thing gets online, it's very scary and very hard to deal with. I guess we can talk about its partner in the Single Strike, or the Single Strike, the Wicked Blower Shifu. It features all the similar types of weaknesses that Rapid Strike has, in that it's Kubfu and it needs a lot of help to get out of the jungle and to get online. The other weakness it has is it's a lot more stack reliant. You really need the attack weight stacks. So a character that is weak 1 through 4, even at 5, it doesn't spike nearly as hard as Water Bear does. And it needs stacks to come online. Like, you know, Blaziken, Zacian are mostly giving you, and Mega Luca are basically giving you better objective control and last hitting than the Single Strike is. It does have its ult. Its ult is strong, but its ult is counterable with full heal and unstoppables. I think if they made it so that the ult went through unstoppable, this Pokemon would be S plus tier. And if they made the ult consistently go through hindrance resistance, because it's kind of finicky where it doesn't really go through a lot of hindrance resistance, or maybe not any anymore, it could move up a little bit. But for the time being, I think it is on the weaker side. Let's see. Any other kind of meta-y all-rounders? Palmot. I think Palmot's solid. I'd put Palmot in the B tier. Close to being an A tier mon, but there's so many all-rounders. It's so concentrated that I think it's important to move it down a little bit. It's a good anti-speedster option. Has a little bit of CC. It's very tanky, very bulky, very sustainy. Problems are that it's a weak laner. Not as bad of a laner as Cubfu, but it doesn't hold up into the strong laners. And the Unite move being battle oriented instead of farm oriented means that you constantly want to be fighting with this character. And there's sometimes in some games where it's time to just go and farm, which means if you're stuck doing that as Palma, it feels a little bit worse. But definitely, Pokemon has a lot of potential, and it's very, very good at countering speedsters and certain all-rounders as well. Empoleon, similar kind of idea. I'll just put it on the other end of the B tier. I think Empoleon's not a bad all-rounder, right? It got a lot of nerfs. I think it's a lot more stack reliant now, but it's got some strong characteristics here, right? It's got like a poke ability in Hydro Cannon. You can just throw it out to like a mid-range poke on an all-rounder, which is kind of cool. Almost like Focus Blast on Blaziken, but more damage, and it has the torrent capability of healing you and a little bit and a mini stun. Aqua Jet's, you know, there's probably some unseen potential in Aqua Jet because torrent boosted Aqua Jet does a 60% special defense shred. So if you couple this with some other strong special attackers, you could definitely chew through frontliners or chew through objectives. But when it comes to all-rounders on objectives, there's just better characters that do the job that don't need like an additional character to enable it, right? You stick a Blaziken on an objective or a Mega Lucon or a Zacian, they're gonna do the objective just fine. And then Empoleon ult is a strong team fighting tool, but it is kind of hit or miss, right? And I think that's like the nature of the ult, where you can just whiff it. You can just raw whiff it. You don't have the option to eject button to really line yourself up well with it. And it can get body blocked. One thing that I didn't get to do this tournament, but something that, you know, you'll definitely see happen, whether it's on purpose or not, is the tanks and the supports can just get in the way of the Empoleon Unite and end it early. And the shorter the distance it travels, the longer Empoleon is self-stunned for as well. So there's some counterplay to it. It's kind of finicky. It doesn't do as much damage. It's a little stack reliant. So it's an average all-rounder. It's an all-roundery all-rounder. Speaking of like the most all-roundery all-rounder is normal Luca. I'm kind of putting it in like the middle of B for fun, but in actuality, it's probably closer here, but I'll put it in dead in the middle. In a lot of ways, it is just a weaker version of its mega counterpart, but it has some bulk to it, which is nice. It's a little tankier, like I talked about Steadfast. And then you have the other option where you can flex into other builds, right? E-Speed Lucario is still very much playable. You just need to give it some farm so it gets that early level 5 so it can take over the game. The fact that there's 2 sets of Natus on the map that respawn, at least the top side respawn, and then middle, you know, you have all the different kinds of bees or Regidrago or whatever. More individual pieces of farm obviously is really good for E-Speed Luca. And in draft, it's a powerful tool when you're not sure which direction they're going to go when this gets picked up. You know, if a team can play both iterations of this, it's definitely scary. But it's just average, I would say. It's like decent laner, decent to strong laner, stack reliant, right? If it doesn't get stacks, it's very weak on both builds. E-Speed is very full heal reliant. right? So if this gets picked and the other team can still go the good counter picks, it's going to be really hard to get off. And the ult is decent objective last hit, but it's not that great at team fighting with the ult. It's okay. And then let's slot in some of these lesser valuable picks. Mewtwo X, I think, is borderline unplayable. Scyther, we're gonna put into the speedster category because it is a speedster. Phalanx, it's not unplayable, but it has to be a last pick. And even like the chances are that the other team didn't accidentally draft a Phalanx counter are pretty much next to none. And then even then it has to be a last pick. And even then, you know, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 all like, you know, 8 to 10 all rounders that are so strong that you would rather build your comp around anyways, that you just can't see how you're meant to leverage Phalanx. It's got a strong kit, but it's just so bad into so many of these all rounders. Gyarados, the game is too fast right now to really get Gyarados online. Gyarados historically does really, really well into speedsters and really, really bad into other all-rounders, and not that great into attackers anymore, especially. And it's a very attacker all-rounder meta. So no good on that end. Tinkaton, you need just too much investment on the stacks. It's got a comically low attack stat, which means that it gets farmed by a lot of other all-rounders, similar kind of idea. And then I think all the other ones are like borderline playable. Maybe Scissor probably isn't playable. It's an all-rounder that doesn't have a last hit and doesn't have any crowd control, right? If you look at all the other all-rounders, they do one or the other. They either last hit or have crowd control, right? Mimi ult, some slows from Shadow Claw, and it has burst damage, right? Zard obviously has like 3 stuns. Mega Zard does. Playerization has good stuns and has last hitting. Blaziken has stuns and last hit. Mega Luca, self-explanatory. Right? All these either have CC or last hit. Scissor has neither. And it doesn't have any burst, so like what really is its purpose? And then T-Tar, there was a game we joked about picking T-Tar as a counter to Megazard. We almost did it. Like we talked about it in game 2 or game 3 of the finals. We were like, frick it, just pick T-Tar. T-Tar has true damage. It does true damage to Zard, Zard ult, Zard shields. But it's just so finicky to get online. You really need level 9. You just lose a lot of games before you even get to that point of the game. So it's just not worth it. I'm trying to see. I think all the other ones are actually kind of playable. I think Chomp is playable. I think Machamp is definitely playable. I think Zard's playable. I think D-Knight's kind of playable. Azu is okay-ish. It doesn't have that much CC, and it doesn't have that much crowd control. But it has a lot of sustain, like a lot. And it has really good early game, right? So not to say that it's like an amazing Pokemon, but it is playable. Metagross, I think, is like, it offers you like similar kind of like very tanky all-rounder, like, you know, staying power damage that T-Tar does. It doesn't have the true damage that T-Tar does, but it has significantly better early game. It's like an okay all-rounder. Chances are though Palmy or something like it will probably do its job better in a lot of cases. Same thing, a character that, you know, is just outclassed by like Palmy or Serena or Megazard X AG. But AG does have a nice difference than them, is that it has a lasting tool in its ult. And then Saraledge is just, I mean, its ult's okay still. Its early game's all right. Don't think it's great, but all these all-rounders are kind of just here to be here. They're kind of irrelevant. Okay. We got 3 roles left. Speedster, Defender, Supporter. I guess we'll save Defender and Supporter for the end. Because why not? I have Scyther in here because it is a Speedster, but let's see. Who is the best Speedster in the game right now? It's probably Darkrai. Darkrai and then Dodrio. Is it fair to put... That's not Darkrai, that's Zoroark. That's got to be racist, right? That I confused Darkrai and Zoroark. They're both like black and red. Is Darkrai good enough to put an S+ tier? I mean, I think it's close. I think it's very close to being S+ tier. The one reason I probably wouldn't put it there is that it's too easy to counter with some characters that are already in the meta. Right? Zacian has so many sources of unstoppable. It's kind of hard. Like Megazard can just kill you sometimes. Both the Lucas have so much unstoppable, but if you do catch some, it's not that bad. People are gonna see you and equip full heal. You're not bad into Mimikyu though, right? You're not bad into Mimikyu, but you are kind of countered by Miraidon, right? So it like matches up really well into one of the S+ tiers and really bad into the other one. So I think it's fair to say that it's just S. I think it's fair to put this here. But yeah, definitely a solid Pokemon. I think Dodrio, it's funny. I personally think Dodrio should also be S tier, but its play rate was so much worse that I'm tempted to move it down. I'm going to put it on the other end of S tier and I'll keep them separated. One of the things that Dodrio does really well is it does the job that a speedster wants to do super well, right? You put this thing in the jungle, it gets level 5. It does one stun, it has like a stun that you gain at level 7, but at level 5, it does your first gank, it goes to the bees. You could go drill peck, but most people are going to be try attack. And then once it's off the map and once you can no longer see it, it's so scary for other people to approach the game, right? If Dodrio's in a bush, it's in your jungle, it's ganking your other lane, it's ready to gank the same lane that it ganked. And because it moves around the map so fast, you kind of want to send someone to scout it, but you can't send someone to scout it on their own because if you do, Dodrio will just take them down and it just wins most 1v1s at that stage of the game. So, I don't know, it's very, very scary. But it can fall behind, it can get countered, right? And a unstacked, underleveled Dodrio isn't really that scary. We saw a lot of Scyther in the tournament, primarily from a handful of teams. Peru, right, historically plays a lot of Scyther. Reggie, the team from CACM that made it to the finals, he plays a lot of Scyther. Just a lot of popular Scyther players in the Latin America region. Big reason is that it's a jungler that does the jungle really, really fast. And once it gets level 5, it has an incredible amount of mobility, incredible amount of damage. It has some sustain built into the mon as well. So what it lacks in CC that Dodrio and Darkrai provide, because Scyther has nothing in CC, it makes up for all the burst, the resetting, and the health regeneration. I think Leafeon is like just as good, but I don't play a lot of these characters, right? And when it comes down to like the individual like matchups that really separate why the pro players are gonna make these changes between picking these bonds, it's hard to articulate. A lot of it, I'm gonna be honest, just goes down to vibes and what an individual player is better at. Right? Like a Scyther and a Leafeon both could have a big impact on the game, but the one that's going to be better is going to be whoever it's in the hands of. But I think they're both good. Very similar reasons. Leafeon can gank a little bit earlier, has the ult a little bit sooner. But the ult is a lot more straightforward. It's a lot easier to dodge with a dash or an eject. Scyther's ult, if it does find a kill, or if you do just use it to confirm a kill, you can use the reset to keep going. Whereas Leafeon, you usually use your Unite, and the speed bonus you get from it's harder to chain more kills with. You just end up running away and scoring and farming some more and taking advantage of really low ult cooldown. But they're both good. Other than that, let's see. I think Talonflame is a very respectable speedster. Kind of makes a life hard for Miraidon, which is a S+ tier mon according to our list. But it matches up pretty poorly into the other all-rounders and into other speedsters for that matter. And it really needs to snowball, like most speedsters, to be effective. All the other speedsters, had, or not all of them, but some of these other speedsters had some show out games at LAIC, right? Reggie, the speedster player for CACM, the one that made it to the finals, he had this banned from him in majority of the games that they ended up playing. We banned it. We played 3 games against him in the grand finals. It was our first ban. Our draft plan into this guy was we're going to ban it if we're first pick, or we're going to ban it if we're second pick. Does it mean that in his hands it's an S+ tier Pokemon? Not necessarily, right? It's very comfortable for some people to play on. And the ones that are really good at it make the Pokemon seem a lot better than it actually is. And it's just annoying. It's constant invincibility makes it harder for some Pokemon to play the game. The passive buff makes it so that it actually walks around the map really fast. And this is one of the speedsters that's really, really good at ripping objectives. I'm talking about Hexcar, right? Dream Ball Gar, not as good. Hexcar is really where the build is at in the current meta. Being able to rip objectives in the speedster role is kind of unique, right? In all-rounders, we see things like Zacian, Blaziken, Mega Lucario being able to do it. Even the Water Bear can do it reasonably well. Palmot's not that bad on objective, especially with the Muscle Band. Regular Luca with the Muscle Band really gets to objectives. But in the speedster role, you really don't see these Pokemon wanting to stick on an objective. They want to be off the map. They want to be in bushes. They want to be setting up kills. They want to be pressuring pads. But Hex Gengar, right? You leave it alone on an objective, it can do it, and then ult and get to the other side of the map super, super, super fast. But it's got one Achilles heel that will prevent it from ever being the perfect Pokemon. Though if it gets a lot of damage buffs like it did in the past, it could easily be S+ tier. And that's full heal. You full heal that Sludge Bomb away in the middle of his Hex, makes it so that you no longer are Sludge Bombed. And then you also, when they do go to Hex, their Hex goes on a full cooldown. And now you force the Gengar to Unite or to die. And that gameplay alone makes it super hard for them to exist. Now, if there was a hypothetical player that could flex between Dream Ball and they were really, really good at it, and Hex Gengar and they were really, really good at it, in that player's hands, it would literally be close to a high A, low S tier mon. But I don't think a player like that exists. And even then, you did have to be so good at it. And someone like that would be better off just being that good at a different character. Let's see. We saw a little bit of Meow get played. It didn't look too bad, but it seems very, very niche. So I will put it somewhere in the C tier. It's another one of the speedsters like Gengar that can actually solo rip objectives. But it can either solo rip objectives, or even better yet, if your team is ripping objectives, it has it's the best speedster to last hit objectives. One of the best last hitting tools in the game in Flower Trick. Double team is super annoying. The passive is really good. But Meow's problem, and it's the same problem Meow's always had, is that the passive is really easy to play around, right? Meow is like a character of resources, right? It's really reliant on its eject to reposition its unite move, and it's really reliant on its passive to go invincible momentarily, or I guess not invincible anymore. It goes invisible momentarily, gets a big damage amp bonus, gets a big spell vamp bonus. All those things, if you can bait it out, right? If you can just chunk the Meow, run away, let its passive tick a little bit, and then take a fight after that, it's really, really difficult for the Meow to be successful. And the best teams are going to be playing around that. They're going to look to bait out that passive. Zoroark, I mean, with the Comfy, it's still scary. It's not amazing. I think you could probably put it at the bottom of the A tier. And we'll put Comfy beside it when we get to the supports. Without a Comfy, Zoro isn't that good. Even with a Comfy, I think it's not as strong as it's been in the past. But a Zoro Comfy, you know, depending on the Zoro skill level, can take over the game. And it would be unfair to not put it in the A tier. A big thing that Zoro does really well, and the reason why Zoroark Comfy was one of the best combos when Groudon first came out, was it's one of the best characters to play around Regidrago. It's a character that has lasted on Regidrago at level 5 in the final feint attack hit. And once Zoroark gets the Regidrago buff, if you think about it, a Comfy accompanying the Zoroark also gets the Regidrago scoring buff. So you kind of get a 2-for-1. Where if they both have a big amount of money, they can go and score really easily. And then at the start of the map, Regidrago just gave an absurd amount of experience, which snowballed team fights, and it made Zoro Comfy like arguably the best combo in the game. But since then, they've nerfed Regidrago quite a bit. So Zoroark's value has gone down as well. Zeraora is like, it's like the speedster anti-speedster, where it kind of plays like an all-rounder where it wants to take damage to do damage, right? Its passive is really, really powerful in that sense. It's got a little bit of sustain to it. It's definitely more of the all-roundery kind of speedsters, but it's just hard to fit in, right? You kind of want it to be level 5, and you kind of want to make use of the early game passive, so you want to put it in the lane. But if you put it in the lane, it's going to just lose farm to other laners, and it's kind of hard to force fights in the early game. Most people just focus on the farm. And then if you put it in the jungle, you know, it's an opportunity cost of all the other things you could have picked and put in the jungle instead. Rapidash is just too nerfed, and it doesn't do great into all-rounders, which is a big part of the meta. Definitely still has like the utility in smart striking people and setting up fights. And I almost want to put it B tier, but I think it's fine to put C tier. Still has a lot of utility in setting up fights and whatnot. And I think even without buffs, if the meta shifted and the things that are good got buffed or nerfed, Rapidash could climb tiers. But in the current meta, I don't think it's that good. And then Absol, I think, just sucks. Like, I don't think it's unplayable, but I do think it kind of just sucks. I guess like the one benefit it has to the other speedsters is that it can flip objectives a little bit better, especially if you're like X attack unite move. But other than that, you would just, you know, bar for bar pick another speedster, Leafy on site, their Talonflame, etc. Okay, cool. So that rounds out the damage. I think this list looks good. God damn, there's a lot of Pokemon that exist in Unite. Let's follow it up with the defenders. I'm trying to think. Do we think that a defender here is an S+ tier? I don't think so, right? Zug absolutely smurfed it on Crustle. A lot of people had some good Crustle games. Even in the World Championships, Crustle looked like a really strong defender. And I think it's up there in the S tier. It is probably the best defender in the game. But the difference between you ending up on Crustle and ending up on another defender isn't as big as you ending up on Mimikyu versus another all-rounder, or you ending up on Miraidon on another all-rounder. So it's good. It has a stun in the early game to set up last hits. It has a decent last hitting tool as well. It's very, very tanky thanks to Sturdy. It can fish for a lot of crowd control using Rock Tomb. You know, you can cut off chokes. You can slow people. You can combo it with your X Scissor, which is really good. Its Unite move is very scary. Crustle's really, really good at keeping attackers in check. That's basically Crustle's job. What Crustle wants to do is to wall off areas and throw its Rock Tomb at attackers that lack mobility, right? And a lot of attackers lack mobility. Miraidon, if it gets stuck in a Rock Tomb, its best option is to ult and run away with the Unstoppable, eject over the wall if it's not drift, or just die, right? Or just die. It's really, really good into Raichu. It can be hard for Raichu to get around it. It's not bad into some all-rounders. It's not bad into some supporters. Espeon, same idea. It just locks them up. There's not much Espeon can do. It doesn't have mobility. Inteleon, right? Inteleon does have mobility, but funny enough, Inteleon's mobility is predicated on it latching onto a wall, and you know it's gonna get stuck on the Rock Tomb. So yeah, it's really, really good at countering a bunch of stuff. The defender that our team didn't play a bunch of, but if you're paying very close attention to the draft, it was a mon that was getting banned a lot, is Slowbro. And I think Slowbro in general is kind of sleeper for this event. There were a couple of teams that played a lot of Bro, and we actually had it banned out. We banned it against a lot of teams that we thought could play Slowbro. And the reason why it gets banned is that it introduced like an interesting layer in draft where Slowbro is really good at countering the Mega Pokemon. So if you're the team that you're expecting to pick Mega Pokemon, like let's say your first pick, and you want to first pick a Mega, you can ban Slowbro to make sure the other team can't counter your first pick Mega. Or you can force the other team to ban the Mega because you banned Slowbro. So it makes like an interesting draft thing. This mon was definitely banned more than picked, but it does have a lot of potential. Surf Bro, the CC is really annoying, but even Scald Bro into the Megas, who are really reliant on their attack stat for their survivability, makes it so that this character has a lot of options. And in Japan, they're using this even in like a damage oriented type of role almost. So Slowbro is getting a lot of play internationally, and it's like, it's kind of just like a interesting lockup kind of tool that messes with the drafts. Another defender that's really, really strong is Umbreon. I'm going to put Umbreon a little bit lower, only because Umbreon's upside is really high, but its one downside is that its laning is noticeably weaker than something like Crustle's. Crustle has an early game stun in Rock Tomb or Rock Slide. Eevee Umbreon just has a little bit of damage, so you do need to get that level 4 to come online. But once you're level 4, you're golden, and you have access to 2 really viable builds. We could even say that Umbreon's like at the bottom of S tier in terms of defenders, because having access to Wish and Mean Look really does kind of open up how this character can be played. But you need something in the early game to complement it, otherwise it can have some trouble. Blastoise, it's only defender by role, but it's really just an all-rounder. It's really just a tanky all-rounder. It gets played alongside the other all-rounders. The only weakness to the Mon is it doesn't have a last hitting tool, but it sets up your team's last hitting by stunning them. It's a strong laner. It does good damage. It can counter a lot of different melees. It's really good into really good into Zacian. It is also really good into Suicune because it can run at the Suicune and not get frozen because it'll be in its rapid spin. Overall, good character. Moving down the defenders to the A tier, I would say Mamoswine is the stronger defender of the two between Mamo and Snorlax. But they're both good, right? They're both strong in the early game. Snorlax kind of falls off later on, right? Snorlax's gameplay is a little bit more basic, just slam, block, slam, block. Sometimes you can slam yawn. You take a lot of damage, you can ult. You know, you can do some fancy things with eject and slam or eject in your ult. But its gameplay is kind of linear, doesn't do that much damage. It's good. It's just a good standard tank. Mamoswine, on the other hand, a little bit higher risk, higher reward. Not as tanky. Probably worse Unite move, you could say. But it does so much more damage, so much more damage, and it really punishes characters that exist within its Ice Fang range. So a lot of melees where it can kind of kidnap them, similar to Buzzwole, and it also punishes a lot of characters that exist within its Earthquake or Earthquake eject range. Because, you know, if you get hit by that Earthquake, you're gonna get hit by the Ice Fang, which means that you're gonna get jumped, you're gonna get turned around, which means that the rest of the team can counter jump you as well. So, you know, Lax has a similar combo with slam eject or just slam into block or slam eject into block, but it's, you know, does way less damage and is less consistent than Mamos. And then other than that, the defenders start to fall off really quickly. I think Lapras is like mildly playable, but it's not a great meta to be Lapras. Lapras doesn't like the all-rounders with CC, the Buzzes, the Zards, doesn't like the characters that have a lot of displacement, like Blaziken with its Blaze Kick. It doesn't like getting trapped or displaced by Umbreon. And it also really doesn't like to just sit there and be a sponge for other characters' sustain, right? Mega Luca can just sit there and freely sustain off of it. Blaziken can just sustain off of it. It's really easy to kite, except for its ult. So the ult is what you have to be afraid of. But it's an okay mon. It's not the worst. Gudra, it's harder to make this character work in competitive. Maybe as a last pick, this mon could be Thanos. I have faith in it personally. But the conditions to make that work seem so bad. And the characters that this is bad into, the matchups are so bad that it makes it kind of unplayable. Tree, I don't think is bad. But Tree kind of has a problem that Umbreon has where it's like weak early game. So you kind of need an escort to get it online. But you need an even higher level. Umbreon only needs 4 to get online. Tree needs level 5 to come online, which is really, really tough. And even once you do, it's hard to make use of its tool set. If you're a Curse, you get a little bit of damage and you get that pop, but you really need level 7 at that point to really make use of Curse. And even then, it's so telegraphed. You know, when this character does well in ranked, it's usually because the other team is kind of playing into it. But when you're playing in competitive and you expect these things to be happening to you, it's a lot weaker. And then Ho-Oh, which I don't know, I think it's one of the worst characters in the game right now. It's definitely not that bad. And the ult could probably have some use cases, maybe into like Megazard. You know, you let the Megazard ult and then you slow it down with Ho-Oh. And then when it eventually does kill your team, you res them as the Mega is expiring and then you take the fight. But the issue is that it's just too slow and the early game isn't nearly as good as it used to be. And then Greedent. I mean, I think Greedent's fine to put in the C tier. Like, it's like a playable, tanky, all-aroundery kind of mon. But for the most part, it's just a worse Blastoise, right? It's a character that can run around hindrance resistant, not unstoppable, being annoying and taking damage. You know, it's better at taking the enemy team's farm and sustaining, and playing the game that way. But it has less crowd control than Blastoise does. And a worse Unite move, even though the Unite has been buffed recently. The Unite's undervalued, but it doesn't compare to Blast Ult. And its early game, like Tackle isn't the bad spell to have, 1 through 4, but it's nothing compared to Water Gun, where you still get the damage, and then you can combo it with stunning people or displacing them. Okay, and finally we move on to the supports. We can do the supports first that are considered kind of defendery, which would be Wiggly, Mime, and Duck. Wiggly's the type of character, and I can comment on this because I actually played a Wiggly game that was a Thanos Wiggly game, where if the stars align, Wiggly can be the best character in the game, right? And the things you need Wiggly, like Wiggly's really good at countering all-rounders and speedsters, but it's really, really bad to play it in matchups where the other team has a lot of poke, right? And if you remember when we were doing the attacker section, there's just a lot of characters that have poke. You know, there's Miraidon, there's Mew, there's Inteleon, there's even Venusaur gets picked. There's Desi that could get picked. Raichu, like there's so much poke, so much slow damage, and Wiggly being in the support role means that you're lacking that sustain like we talked about earlier. And if you put it in the defender role, it's like the other characters start fights better. You still want like offensive unites, you know, Wiggly's ult is more enable or defensive in nature, but all of that being said, I do think it's like a B tier character. It's S plus tier if the conditions are right. The game that I played it, I think it was close to S plus tier almost. It was into like E-Speed Luca, regular Luca, and Megazard. Which means when the Megas ult, I can ult to counter them and disengage and our team can run away. Q-Charm into both Lucas and Megazards, very, very unplayable for them. And then Sing is, you know, super, super strong at slowing them down as well. So in a case like that, it goes S plus tier. But if the other team has any kind of poke, if they have an Intel, if they have a Mew, if they have a Venusaur, it loses a whole bunch of value right away. Went Double Slap. I like Double Slap. Gleam is a better last hitting tool for Wiggly, but Double Slap is higher average damage. Animation's a little faster, and it has a higher win rate. The last time I checked, the win rate was higher, and I was like, these moves are so similar in nature, I'm just going to pick the higher win rate one. And I like it. I really do like it. It gives you the opportunity to steal a lot of farm with it. Mime. Similar kind of issues, like really, really similar kind of issues. It's worse at dealing with poke. Its ult is a little more offensive. Wiggly's a little more defensive. And Mime's role really is to get into a lane and bully the last hitting because of confusion. That's where its strength is, and it's better at dealing with attackers that poke it because it can just hard engage with its Unite move. So I don't think it's bad, but I do think it's worse than the games where Wiggly is amazing. Duck. This is another Pokemon that I personally didn't play a lot of this tournament, mostly because I wasn't as practiced on it. But I can play Duck, and I'll probably play Duck more in the future. And I didn't really have like a great read on it going into the tourney. Once I got to the tournament, I saw other teams were playing Duck, and I was like, makes sense, right? Duck's ult kind of functions similarly to Wiggly's ult, in the sense that you want to press it to counter other Unites. Instead of giving your team a bunch of shielding, it makes it so the other team does less damage, which in terms of like damage mitigation are similar things. Its Surf Plus also does damage reduction, provides a lot of crowd control. But its weakness, like Wiggly's, is that it's very susceptible to poke damage. Pimsky, thanks for the 500, bitch.
Bitch.
Okay, those are the supports that are more defendery in nature. Now, in terms of the supports, I think going into the event, if I made this tier list before the tournament, I would have put Hoopa in the S tier. Now that we played the tournament, and I happen to have the bias of being the winner, and because I played Hoopa every game of the grand finals, and almost every game of the semis as well, I think it's just the best support in the game. It's super strong laner. Yeah, Hyperspace Hole can get countered, but Trick is just super strong as well. There's so many characters in the metagame that Trick Phantom Force really just sets up for. You can pair it with so many different mons. With Darkrai, with Zard, with Mimi. It's not that bad with Zacian. You can go whole with Blastoise or even Spin. Both with Blaze. Trick Phantom Force, not that bad for Raichu. Both for Lucas. You have so many different pockets that you can really enable. We pocketed Serena with it. Serena with Trick Phantom Force went crazy as well. Yeah, I don't know. It just does so much. It sets people up. It's super strong laner. It's a character that can invade. It's a character in its Unite move can pressure other attackers or other unsuscepting damage dealers. Like, you know, one of the games in the grand finals, I ulted and there was Inteleon in the bottom right L bush, and it was like, okay, you want to fight me, bro? I'll just stand there and I'll auto attack you. And I just forced him to eject away and get out of the team fight. Like Hoopa has that kind of pressure it can put in fights. And then, you know, we're not even talking about all the macro implications of, you know, being able to move your team around for team fights, get set up on objectives, have someone scoring, or at Groudon, you can send someone to score. You can have someone to back cap, and if the other team tries to do anything about it, you can just hoop ult. There's so much that this character provides, and I think it's one of the best characters in the game. I'm definitely biased though. Do you use Hoopa's passive to bring all the coins to the goal in game one? In game one of the grands, yeah, that's what it was. We used Magician. I don't know. That clip was just insane. No, like we can go watch it actually. Let's see. Easiest way for me to find it is I probably just go to my profile, and then I think I quote tweeted it right. There it is.
That's how colors work. What am I saying?
Actually, we should go back and we should watch more of it. Chris Heroes makes it easy to find exact games because he just does like the one game.
Players has is who want Dignitas a chance, but instead.
Okay, let's watch it from here.
Yeah, we're looking at this team fight, and it really.
Is this? Oh, this is like a. Oh, this isn't even Chris's VOD. Should we watch Chris's VOD? Here's Chris's. Okay, let's watch it from. I mean, Hoopa's entire value you could see from like this point.
He's ending on side the late game always.
So I reset Otter, who got sniped.
Same thing again.
Zug is low, but my portal isn't up. His AV comes back up here,
Slowly.
but he gets sniped again. And then I portal him. And then I tried to block it, but I think Otter tried to block it, sorry. I probably could have stayed to block it, but I wanted to get some damage on this guy. And I mean, Don Lux just hits a crazy snipe and Zug ends up dying here.
Hyperspace spotted.
Um,
Gets shot.
But that was a little unfortunate. But also we were just so down in XP in this fight. And then I'm forced to
He
ult.
didn't expect to die. Toon has to do something. Now he gets snipe shotted. Gets put on a leash. He's down.
So we all
It's not even close.
we're all getting boomed. We're all dying. Otter goes in. Zug comes in through my ult portal.
Zagva can get it, maybe.
Tries to get it. He doesn't get it either. 5 of us are dead. Game's looking pretty doomed.
In the end. That was pretty bad.
Look at this.
But we get the jump to stop the cap here,
Fine, guys. Don't be first game.
right?
Mandy's.
Down now, coming back, trying to make
And we notice that they're all running away.
goal zone
And then I get the portal on the top side,
ahead on the score.
which is where the other half of their team was.
Right here, and it looks
So that's one thing that just stops them from scoring.
Snipe crossed before the portal.
And then because we're all topside anyways,
crowd on buff over to
Toon's
their
not
side.
able to.
you know, we go in top to score.
1 minute left on the clock. It is not over, but it's looking bleak for Dig.
Good snipe on the Toon or on the Zealot.
Yeah, that far behind.
I'm almost dead off of that. And we get some caps in.
But side of
And Toon did a good job to back immediately. This was huge.
Wait.
Right? Toon gets this stop.
Right.
And then Zealot makes sure to go topside to stop that cap. I mean, so much just happens here, right?
Cross is gonna go.
So here's like some really cool stuff that happens with Hoopa, right? So
If they get one ground on buff here and then run to the
I Phantom Force here to just try to get some chip damage in a slow. And also to bait the Scyther.
go.
Right? The Scyther goes, ends up missing his wing beat because of it. If Otter got that side shock on, if he saw the exact frame what I went for, that would have been sick, but it's hard. To be honest, Otter probably should just wait for Toon. Because he could have comboed off this as well, but oh well. It's hard. Like, we're just fishing, right? And then basically what I'm doing here is kind of int,
Right here.
but there's only 20 seconds left. Something needs to happen, right? But I Phantom Force dodge a bunch of the damage. I think half of them expect me to come back to this portal,
Takes too long. Hoopa
but I just don't.
Hoopa unbound. Mega Charizard is
And then I go and score the 15,
Hoopa's gonna go score, but it's not enough points. He has to do unbound
right? So 15 times 2 goes in,
score.
They score 30 in the
right? I picked up some points along the way that were just there. And then I pressed Magician as I was scoring, and it just gave me 46. Which I didn't need 46. We only needed like another 15 or so.
Hoopa has more
But I got
points.
the most ever.
He's gonna score a lot.
Oh, Chris is saying for me to ult. It's actually so important that I don't press my ult here. I contemplated pressing my ult. And if I pressed my ult, we would have lost this game. In my mind, everything was in slow motion. And I was like, I didn't even say, should I ult in comms? Because I didn't want to distract my team because they were all focused on the defense. But I know if I pressed ult, I could have pressed ult here, right? If I pressed ult,
Hoopa's gonna go score. but it's
if
not enough
even any one of my teammates took it, we would not have been able to defend.
points. He has to do
I can't score an ult, but also we needed everyone here for this defense to work.
Wait, Hoopa has more points. He found points on He's gonna score.
And then I guess Reggie sees me score 92. So he feels like he's pressured to get a second cap after his team gets this cap. Because if all 5 of them stood on this against just Zealot, right? One of these would have gone in. But I don't know. I mean, they kind of choked
They win this game. What?
and then we end up winning it. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, is that the reason why Hoopa's S plus tier? No. That's just, it's just Pokemon Unite, you know? That game was just Pokemon Unite. But Hoopa, for all intents and purposes, in my opinion, is S plus tier. Moving on. Okay. We'll save Lottie for the end. That's Lottie. That was comfy. I think Blissey easily an S tier support, right? We didn't use the Blissey that much, mostly because I was getting Hoopa anyways for the most part in the tournament, and you don't want to draft them both together. I don't think I felt as confident on Blissey in this tournament as I have in other tourneys as well. And I was really just feeling the Hoopa. Every time like Hoopa was up in draft, we were like, we're like discussing my pick, and I'm like, I'm just gonna play Hoopa. Just put me on Hoopa. I've played in too many tournaments where I've like tried to gamify which mon I want to play. And I've regretted not playing Hoopa. This tournament, I was like, I just want to play Hoopa. But that being said, I think Blissey has some amazing matchups. It can pocket things like Water Bear really well, still pocket Serena really well, can pocket the Megas quite well. It's not a bad laner. It just, you have to lane it differently than the other characters. And then the other option is you don't even have to lean into the healing build, right? You can threaten the other team with Safeguard, right? Safeguard, a pretty big counter to Darkrai, a pretty big counter to Suicune, pretty big counter to Duck. It's just you end up in this dilemma where if you go Safeguard into Suicune, Duck, or Darkrai, and the other team also has Poke, you're making your teams more susceptible to that, so you have to play a strategy that enables that. But other than that, I think Blissey was solid. I'll move it down a little bit though. I'll move it to the end of S tier. Or maybe I'll put in the A tier, because I do think as the tourney went on, I thought Clef was a stronger pick. Yeah, I think Clef did end up being a stronger pick, but I think they're kind of close. Clef's thing is that, it's similar to Blissey, where it can provide a lot of sustain to your team. Similar to Blissey in the sense that the laning phase gets played kind of similarly. You play to either stack or you play to just get some big last hits. But you don't really have good, you don't really trade that well with your opponent. And they're both quite reliant on level 4. The one difference, or a couple differences, I think, are Blissey's ult is obviously stronger, but Clef's sustain is better. Clef's better 4 through 6, as opposed to Blissey, who really needs level 6 to get their sustain on board. And then Blissey's Clef's second spell, in my opinion, is better. I think Follow Me is a better spell than Egg Bomb is. So they're similar, but not the same. How good was Force, though? They drafted well. I think they had a decent plan into us. But the game went, to 5 games. But I think the games we lost were closer in our favor than the games we won were in their favor, if that makes sense. Right? I think our games were more winnable on the losing side than I think their games were winnable on our winning side. But they were good. I mean, they made it really far. Then they're going to Japan, so that's hype. Okay, Sableye. This is another Pokemon that I didn't really pick. It's very, very niche. I think you could develop some strategies around it. I'll put it beside Sableye, or beside Greedent, because I think it's a playable mon. But a big part of this tier list and a big part of most tier lists is opportunity cost, right? If you're picking Sableye, it means that you're not picking all the other broken stuff that it could be played instead of. And there's a lot of broken Pokemon in the support role. There's a lot of broken Pokemon. You could score comp, right? If you get Dodrio Sableye, that kind of strategy is winnable in a lot of situations. But I just don't think it's that good right now. Jungle Invading is not bad, but there's other characters that do it really well. It's hard to really set up kills on things like Mega Charizard. Hard to set up kills on Mega Luca. Mimi's not easy to catch out. Miraidon is catchable. But a lot of just annoying unstoppables out there. Blaziken as well. Etc, 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 etc. Eldegoss, I think it's weird. Like, Eld is like a very competitive, specific kind of healer, right? In solo queue, Clef will feel so much better than LD. Like, so much better than LD. In competitive, though, I think they're very close. And in my opinion, I think Eld just slightly edges over. And there's one reason and one reason alone. It's the laning phase, right? Cleft's laning is very like linear, right? You either play the last hit with your ally or you play the stack, right? You could invade as well, right? Its invade is okay-ish. But it's like very, very linear in that sense. What Eld has the potential to do is if you're in a lane matchup that can bully the other lane by just threatening kill pressure and threatening that A press on them, now suddenly you can bully them away from the farm and you can use you and your ally in unison be able to go for farm together, right? Like a lane you might have seen us play and other teams play is like Blastoise Eld, right? Blastoise Eld pull up to a lane that has a Zacian in it, right? Let's say it's like Zacian Clef, right? You're like, okay, it's 2 S tier Pokemon against 2 S tier Pokemon, right? But it's a hard counter lane, right? They're designed as counters, or they're in their respective tiers because they counter those types of Pokemon, right? Zacian, what is a Zacian gonna do when it's just getting pelted by the Eld little cotton thingies and the Blastoise autos and the water gun? It can't fight back because it's going to take too much damage, and Eld also has AoE healing at that stage of the game. And it can't just stand there and try to last it forever because it will just eventually die. You know, it's not like Eld does a lot of burst damage, but it does enough damage over time that's really annoying. And because you pair it with Muscle Band for that same kind of idea, what Eldegoss also does is throughout the game when it's objective time, Eldegoss also accelerates your damage on objectives, right? If you're in a team fight and you win, you know, an edge in the team fight, Eldegoss alongside of the rest of its allies can just B-press on an objective and get it down fast enough before the enemy team has a chance to respond. Hoopa has a similar kind of thing that it can do, but both Blissey and Clef can't do something like that. The build that I was playing for this tourney, and I saw other players play it as well. And if you're not playing this build, I think you're for the most part griefing. Was EXP Share, obviously, Muscle Band, because I just explained why Muscle Band. And then the last item I was playing was Rescue Hood, right? So what Hood does for you is that it improves your Synthesis heal in the early game, your Pollen Puff heal throughout the game, your Con Guard shield, which, you know, if you think about it, it's a shield that you can apply onto 5 characters with like 175% ratio. So its ratio is bonkers. So multiplying it by a percentage is crazy. Your Con Guard's heal from remaining shield value left is also buffed, which is really cool. So it kind of works twice on the same ability. Because it heals how much ever shield you have left, but then that also gets buffed on its own. And then your ult healing as well. All right. So many instances for Rescue Hood to do well on this character. And I think whenever Rescue Hood got buffed back in like end of August, beginning of September, since then, I think Eld has been like a very premier kind of healer. Speaking of healers, we'll talk about the other healers before we talk about the Mon of the tourney, in my opinion, or close to the Mon of the tourney, which is Latias. Comfy. I like always putting Comfy beside Zoroark, not because Comfy's reliant on Zoroark. I actually think in this tournament, Comfy was better off without Zoro. Some like good partners that you could have were Mega Lucario, Electrodrift Miraidon, technically Mimikyu, technically Mega Zard. Darkrai wasn't too bad with it. Serena's not too bad with it. Palma's not too bad with it. Scyther's good with it. Most of the speedsters. Blaziken's not bad with it. Yeah, I think Comfy's just solid. It's just a matter of how do you slot in Comfy in a slot where all the other healers wouldn't be able to do something better. But definitely opportunities for this character to do well in. And then there's Alcremie. This is a Pokemon I didn't play very much, but doesn't mean that it's not good. It's just wasn't for my team for this tournament. But I think it's a solid like B tier Pokemon. maybe even close to like loose on the end of A. It just has a lot of interesting mechanics, right? It provides sustain throughout the fight with recover, but it's early game, you know, you can manipulate helping hand to allow your character to do more damage in lane, allow your ally to do more damage in lane, and give them a cleanse, right? So you can counter things like Psyduck in lane, counter things like Hoopa in lane, counter things like Suicune in lane. Sweet Scent's not that bad of an ability. Like, it's quite strong. And the ult is the ult. But I think if you make a parallel to this Mon and like Clefable, for example, they both provide their team with a lot of healing, right, in their level 4 move. One is a little bit more single target oriented. The other is AoE, but still a lot of healing. And then they have like an AoE CC crowd control kind of ability. Sweet Scent versus Follow Me. And Follow Me, just, you get more bulk, the huge shield. You actually get a stun as opposed to a slow, like a harder stun that interrupts things. Which kind of just edged out Clef a good amount more. And then if not Clef, you know, there's Blissey as well, who still has a broken ult and whatnot. So I think Alcremie is like more of a factor of there's probably something else better you could play, but doesn't mean that it's bad. And then Latias, I think, is S tier. This was the other Pokemon besides Mimikyu that I was shocked more teams didn't build around. But then this was like pretty much none of the other teams played it in this tournament, which is weird because it's the highest win rate Pokemon on Unite DB or Unite API, or it was before Vaporeon at least. Highest win rate Mon on Unite API. Gets played in a majority of the Japan ACL games. And it's like, it passes the eye test. Like, you look at it and it's OP, right? Not your most traditional support, right? We played it more in the attacker role this tournament than anything else. But I had 2 games on Latias, maybe 1. I had 1 game on Latias. And the way that it supports is through Dragon Cheer, right? You know, whether you have XP Share or not, it's supporting your team by Dragon Cheering them, right? And that's what we use it for. We use it to Dragon Cheer things like Serena, Megazord. You could use it to Dragon Cheer Blaziken alongside another support. You could play Mist Ball, but I think the value is in Dragon Cheer. And then you can Dragon Cheer yourself as well with Dragon Pulse to do a really, really good amount of damage. The ult is definitely a weak point of it, but I think once you kind of learn the value of the ult, it's not even bad anymore, right? All you want to do with the ult is if the other team doesn't have access to sustain, or them needing to use their sustain will compromise their positioning, you just ult something off the bat and you just chunk them and they have to play the rest of the team fight at a low HP. Or if they're playing, you know, Hoopa Reset, they have to have a portal go out. Or they have to expend a cooldown like Moonlight or something, right? And in that timer, you either do something or at the very least you get cooldown reduction. And if you don't open the fight with it, you use it to end the fight with it. But there's some cool interactions with the ult. The ult gives vision on the target that's being tracked. So if you're at the beginning of the team fight and the other team is trying to run away, if you ult the target your team wants to go on, your entire team will keep vision of them, which is really, really OP, right? It's like, you know, you kind of like sight see them. And the other thing is that procs are synchronized, even if it gets canceled. So it can just serve as like a little speed bonus. Even if you know it's about to get canceled, you can use it to proc synchronize, get some speed, and stay in the fight. So there's some use cases. Obviously, it's not comparable to things like Rings Unbound, or like Bliss Assistance or, you know, Psyduck Salt. But once you know how to use it, there's definitely some value to it. All right, guys, there's so many Pokemon in the game. This is why I hate doing tier lists. It takes forever. I can't just throw things and be like, yeah, this is S, this is B, this is D, this is E. I have to explain them and it takes hours. But it's a good tier list. It's a good tier list. If you guys missed some of the explanations, I will, it'll be a YouTube video. I'll do it like I always do where we chapter it by role. That's why I like doing it by role so that when you go back to watch the video, it's easy to find the mon you're interested in hearing about. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I watch tier lists of games that I'm like, you know, loosely or like highly involved in, I usually just skip to the characters that I like to play. I don't watch the whole tier list. So I imagine a good majority of you are like that. You're just waiting till your mon comes up. So that's why when I make the YouTube video, I like being able to find it easily. See you next balance patch. Well, next balance patch is Kyogre. And the patch after that is no EXP share or like the XP share rework. So I don't know. Things will be very different in that world. I guess I could hypothesize where these two Pokemon would be. Vaporeon would be S+ tier. I don't know. I saw this mon. It still looks disgusting. It's like tank. It's like Clefable, but better. It just seems like Clefable that can do damage and a Clefable that has utility. And a better ult. It just, yeah, I don't know. The mon, it just seems it's like, oh, it's OP. And then Dhelmise, I think in competitive, a lot of people want this mon to be like in the tank kind of role, but I think it is a true all-rounder. A Power Whip is a broken ability. Anchor Shot's really good. Anchor Shot Plus is super good. And now that the ult actually works, before the ult didn't get any healing and it was bugged, I guess. I didn't know that. Now that the ult actually provides you with some kind of bulk, I think this mon easily is like a high A, low S tier type of character. You have to stack with it. But it's a strong laner. Yeah, I think it's like here-ish. It's a strong laner, has a stun in lane, has 2 damage spells in lane. Its damage spells proc its shield, and its shield procs its boosted autos. The pads proc its boosted autos. You can couple it with healers that give shields in the early game. I imagine Alcremie Dhelmise is probably pretty solid. Or alternatively, you could play it with supports that have Resonant Guard in lane. Like I see a lot of people being like, oh, put guard on, proc the passive. But in competitive, you would just have your support have guard for you, and they would give you shields and they would proc your passive easier instead. So you basically get to have like a 4th item in that perspective. I think this character has a lot of potential with like things that have like really fast CC that are good at following up. So Pika, Espeon, you know, Duck, things like that. So yeah, and Power Up's just OP. A9 should be higher, Eld should be lower. Well, I look forward to your tier list. You make a whole one and you got it, buddy. Would it get double heals from Eld's Cotton Guard? No, its shield, its recovery from shields only works on shields that it creates from its passive. Dura, worst Pokemon in the game for real? I mean, it's like... You know, it's all garbage. It's all in the bin. It's hard to say. It might be. Maybe not. But it's all garbage. Can you explain the EXP distribution changes a bit? It says it'll be distributed equally among allies. Well, that's what it says, buddy. That's what it... That's your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea how it's going to work. They don't tell me anything. It's not like I get to really know. I should I can just leave these here, I guess. We should post this somewhere. I'll post it on Twitter when the video's up. What now? What now? I'm kind of tired. You got all my faves on the F tier. We scrapping. Parking lot at 3 a.m. All right, pull up. In China, the way it works is you get 1.5x the soul amount of soul XP together, but it's divided evenly, so each person gets 0.75 of normal XP. My guess was, when I read it, I thought combined you would get 1.3x, and then the split would be 0.65. Because that's how XP Share works right now. But I guess that would be really bad. So 1.5 and 0.75, I guess, seems good. Can you not play pretend with numbers we don't know? It makes my brain hurt. Yeah, we just don't know is the real thing. I think EXP Share isn't going to go away, though. I think it'll still be a playable item. But we should just wait till the numbers come out. My guess is that the level 5 mons will be worse and the level 4 mons will be better. All right, guys. I don't know. I'm still a little bit jet lagged. I'm still a little bit tired from like a 17-hour trip. So I'm going to hop off now. I'll be back again tomorrow to stream. Tomorrow's stream, we will play some solo queue. We'll play some solo queue, and we'll also VOD review. We'll VOD review our LAIC games, because that'll be the follow-up tuber. But thanks everyone for hanging out. Thanks for all the gifted subs. Thanks for all the resubs. I appreciate it. Thanks for all the congratulations. You know, the hard work paid off, but the job's not done yet, okay? We gotta win every LAN. God damn it, it's too much work. And we got ops now, too. I'll tell you guys about the ops when you're older. It's a funny story, I tell you. I tell you, these ops. But that's a story for another time. Totals.